What is up, RotoGrinders? MLB baseball opening day. It is here. We are super excited. Myself, Stevie TPFL. We're going to be here for the first hour and 15 minutes or so. We're going to turn it over to Kevin Roth, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. Roth is useful all the time, always useful, but he's especially useful this time of year as far as his weather. I did drop his link in chat. If you guys are in chat, what's up, chat? Hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn on those notifications, do all those things to help us keep the lights on. Of course, on opening day, the sites could not cooperate. FanDuel is including the first two games, the 3:00 games, Milwaukee and the Yankees, Baltimore, Toronto. DK is not including that, so an 11-gamer on FanDuel, a 9-gamer on DK. A beautiful thing, Stevie, a beautiful thing. We have every lineup. Every lineup is out. Every one of them, for our purposes, the 7:00 games. I don't think they're out just yet. We don't care about that. We're talking about the 4:00 slate, the 3:00 slate for FanDuel. We did get a late scratch as far as pitchers, which is of note because every team's rolling out their best pitcher. Some teams, their best pitcher is not particularly good. I'm looking right at you, the White Sox. Well, maybe, who knows? Maybe actually Schaumburg could be good. But, he's exposed on this slate because a lot of studs are abound. It's this tricky thing, Stevie, right? Where, Bybee was scratched. He had the fish. He does have food poisoning. I don't know if it was fish. Something got him. Hopefully he feels better. But Ben Lively is now throwing baseballs for Cleveland, and all of a sudden Kansas City becomes one of the top teams on the board. But it's this tricky thing, Stevie, where super pumped about baseball. Love baseball. The weather is not good for hitting baseballs, and the best pitchers are going out there to subdue those homers. And we have 0 totals at 5. I think our highest total on the board is it's the Royals at 4.47. Most totals are 3 and change. The Marlins are less than 3. What an embarrassment they are. But it's this weird thing where the offense probably is not going to be great. It can be, and a couple offenses could sneak up out of nowhere, but. There's not a lot of things I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to stack this team. You just got to beat everybody else. You don't necessarily have to run faster than the Bear. You just got to outrun everybody else running away from the Bear. Is that the saying? But yeah, that's how we got to take down some contests today. Stevie, welcome to the new season. How are things? How are we feeling?
I mean, I feel great. Refreshed. Took a huge break for DFS during NBA until NASCAR got started. So had a couple months off. So beard has grown in well. It's a baseball beard. I'm excited. I think overall, this slate, you want to attack strikeouts and stack. And that's the best way that I think you can put it, because we do have pitchers that are, really, really good pitchers that probably go out and throw quality starts, but maybe they don't have the strikeout upside as some of the other guys that might give up a run or two. So I think you want to attack the ceiling at pitching with all the amazing pitchers that we have, and just stack everybody. If you're a 150 player, stack everybody. Every team that's on the slate, just stack them.
Yeah. So, this is where I usually give my speech of like, hey, you've been playing basketball all these months, and I know basketball feels like it's not the most predictable thing sometimes, but it is. It is the most predictable. If we're going to power rank, speaking of power rankings, we have power rankings coming up later. We'll be power ranking our stacks in our tiers. You did our category. We'll be talking about that soon enough. But, it's that thing where, in basketball, LeBron's going to give you somewhere between like 40 and 65 fantasy points 90% of the time. The best hitter in baseball, I don't know, I'm going to say Mike Trout. I'm going to say Mike Trout just because he's one of the most popular players on the slate because he's facing the aforementioned White Sox. The best hitter in baseball, in the best environment versus the worst pitcher, can go 0 for 5 and give you a 0. And that's not surprising. That's not shocking. The worst hitter in baseball, I don't know. Jake Fraley can hit 2 home runs out of the 8-hole today. And it wouldn't be shocking. It's just that's just how that happens. You can't really predict that to happen, but that's what you're talking about as far as getting a taste of stacks. I'm not running 150. You're not running 150. I think you typically run, speak for yourself, three main lineups, I believe is what you always sort of talk about, 3 to 5.
3 to 5, yeah.
Yeah, I'm dabbling a little bit in the cash streets as well, just for funsies. Going to play a little bit of cash today. Of course, playing some tournaments as well, but I haven't played cash in a while, and I figure I get to some cash at least to start the season. see how that shakes out. So we at least cash something in theory. Cash our 50-50 head-to-head games. I do have some posted in the lobby, and nobody's taking them. So I guess nobody wants to play head-to-heads. They're just kind of sitting there. They're just kind of lurking. But, anything you want to say as far as broad thoughts? We're going to give our thoughts on pitchers first, and then we're going to run through all the teams. We're going to throw them in the tiers as far as our power rankings. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood of the Musings coming on, 2-time millionaire winner, in about an hour and change. You have Roth coming on, tell you what's going on weather-wise. Again, I did drop his link in chat. Nothing terribly alarming. I did not see anything beyond a yellow. Yeah, yellow, green in Cincy, green, yellow in Kansas City, straight yellow in St. Louis. That's the one that's most, I don't want to say alarming, because that makes it seem like it's a really heightened situation, and it doesn't appear to be. Roth does not seem to be terribly concerned. Of course, weather is fluid, and this stuff can change, and Roth will update it as he sees fit when he comes on in about an hour and change. Of course, Derek Carty. If you love the blitz, you love the bats, Derek Carty of the bats will be on as well. Just a dynamite combination, a dynamite threesome amongst those three. We'll be breaking it down, taking you guys up to the DK lock. Anything you want to say as far as broad thoughts, or you want to just dive right on in and do it?
Yeah, I mean, broad thoughts are, it is March. It is not the middle of the summer. The weather is not the best hitting conditions in the world. These pitchers aren't fully stretched out like midseason. You know, you're hoping for 85 to 95 pitches, but you'll likely see 80 to 90, 5 or 6 innings. I mean, if a guy goes out and he throws 6 really good innings and he's at like 82 pitches, he's probably going to get pulled. So that's why I say you're appealing more towards like the ceiling of pitchers than you are strikeout ceiling, than you are looking at these guys that maybe just get the quality start. So yeah, I mean, that's my general thought as far as make sure you realize that it's opening day, not the middle of the season.
All right. I see TJ hanging out in chat. I don't know. Is TJ going to be dropping his Spidey bombs? I don't know. TJ's not scheduled for today, but maybe he's in a good mood. Maybe he'll give you some Spidey bombs. Typically, he tears them out. Spidey tears them out based upon how many likes we get. TJ will probably work that there in chat. And Christopher's talking about FanDuel. Yeah, we are going to be talking FanDuel as well. It's just tricky. It's tricky to cover. We had to figure out a time to start, and we wanted to work all the way up to the DK slate. So we will be discussing FanDuel. I promise we'll talk about it. It's tricky because the slates start at a different time, and we just thought it was best to work all the way up to the DK lock as opposed to work on FanDuel's schedule and just kind of sitting there and going dark from like 3:30 to 4 o'clock. And people are like, well, wait a second, the slate doesn't start for a half hour. Tough call, but I promise you, we're going to be talking FanDuel as well. Do our best to accommodate both sides. Also, I think DK has the bigger prize pools as well too. So we do want to. We're focusing a little bit more on that. We kind of geared the schedule for that, but typically, well, I should say typically, we'll see how the season goes. But sometimes, most of the time, we will have similar start times. Just unfortunately, that's where we're at right now. Okay, let's talk about pitchers. Kind of mentioned Skeens. Mentioned the Marlins. Skeens in an awesome ballpark, one of the biggest K rates on the board, second biggest K rate. We circle back to last season. That's the stats we can work off of, 33.1%. Just behind Garrett Crochet of your Boston Red Sox. How excited are you about that? Yeah, Boston. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this for sure. But a lot of prospects. Roman Anthony's not there just yet, but people are excited about him. One of the bigger prospects in baseball. And then also, we got a 2K cheapie. Speaking of FanDuel, there is a 2K cheapie on FanDuel that's one of the contenders potentially for Rookie of the Year. That is Christian Campbell, 2K on FanDuel. You must be excited about your Red Sox, I imagine. I don't know if you have time for that sort of rant, but it is opening day. But yeah, you guys looks like you're bouncing back. I know Devers was dealing with a bit of an injury and kind of a late start in spring. A couple of guys like that. Devers, I know Vinny P. The pass watch was questionable. Christian Walker not in this slate. Certain players were questionable going into the season. Gunnar Henderson, by the way, if you're not aware, not starting the season in the lineup there for Baltimore. Baltimore, of course, on the FanDuel slate. But let's talk pitchers. That's the top, right? Crochet. If not Crochet, I think it's Skeens. I'm not overthinking it. I understand there's like 10 different dudes you can roster, even more probably because everybody's rolling out their best. But if you look at lineup HQ, Skeens, he's got the rainbow from myself and Chop, Bime4, Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood. Just, the matchup's good. The Marlins lineup is horrendous. Like, if you thought it was bad last year, it got worse. Burger's gone. A lot of strikeouts. 27% Ks there, Stevie. 27%. You fire up the plate IQ. We got Matt Mervis in there with 30%. Jeff's kid, Griffin, at 33%. Derek Hill, 33%. Graham Pauley is a person playing baseball today for the Marlins. Tons of strikeouts there as well. It's just too good. He's my favorite pitcher. I understand he's going to be the most popular pitcher. One of the most popular. I'm taking it. I think it's good chalk. Where are you at as far as your favorite pitchers? Do you agree is Skeens, the reigning Rookie of the Year, your top guy as well?
So I think it's kind of a site thing. If you're playing on DraftKings, I think that Skeens is 1A and Crochet is 1B. But if you're playing on FanDuel, I think the price difference on FanDuel makes a big enough difference that, like, I would definitely rank Crochet over Skeens. So I think they're the two best strikeout pitchers on this slate. So they're my two top guys. I use both of them in quite a bit of my lineups, if not all of them. So those are the two guys that I think I'd build around. Crochet looked awesome in spring. He had 30 strikeouts in 15 and 2/3 innings. So his strikeout stuff was phenomenal. Gets a good strikeout matchup with Texas. They're much better against right-handed pitching than they are against left-handed pitching. And then on the flip side, like, Skeens gets the worst lineup in baseball, or second worst. I mean, White Sox and Miami are both really, really bad. So, yeah, I mean, great spot for Skeens. 33% Ks last year, high whiff rate. His strikeout stuff was awesome in spring. He looked himself. He topped out at 85 pitches. So I think we see him throw 85 to 95 pitches today, 5 or 6 innings against the Marlins. And when your best hitter is Bride, Jonah Bride is your best hitter.
Is he? I guess I don't know who it is, but it might be.
I think the numbers definitely say he's probably, like, that's how bad the Marlins are. So I mean, Skeens should pitch well here. Good pitcher's ballpark. Just a overall good spot for Skeens.
FanDuel, you want to grab that quality start. A little bit tricky this time of year, like you said. The leash a little bit tighter, maybe 85 pitches, give or take. Is Boston going to be, I guess we saw with Chicago last year, and of course they knew they were going to trade him. He wasn't going anywhere, but it was sort of silly the way they handled Crochet, especially down the stretch. I guess what I'm asking is, like, you think he's got a chance to get a quality start today? Can he go 6 if he's efficient?
I mean, he threw 90 pitches in his last spring training start. Okay. I think that is a really good sign. And he bumped up. He went like from 47 to 72 to 90. That's a really good increase. And he had 2 more starts before that where he threw, or outings. He threw 26 and 41 right out of spring training start. So, I mean, the fact that he threw 90, quality start matters, yes. But I still think, like, the strikeout difference between Skeens and Crochet is just so minimal that I'll save the money on FanDuel. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a quality start, I mean, you could save money and go down to, like, a guy like Kikuchi to potentially get a quality start on FanDuel if you really want to save some cash. So yeah, I mean, quality start might not be a thing for many pitchers today. We might see way more like 5-inning pitch than 6-inning pitch today anyway.
You mentioned Kikuchi. I think he's the natural SB2 on DK, depending on salary. If you're playing cash today, you should be playing, I think. I'll be playing 2 of Skeens, Kikuchi, and Crochet on DK. Those are the 3 most popular pitchers. There are 3 pitchers on FanDuel that are getting ownership in the double digits. It's Skeens, Crochet, and Kikuchi. Taking on those White Sox that are just, putrid. Really, you can combine the White Sox and the Marlins, combine the teams, and you'll still have the worst team in baseball by far. It's just so bad. The talent drop off. As far as the K's, that Chicago lineup is loaded as well, 26.5%. Luis Robert was horrendous last season, really, really terrible. You can make some excuses, I suppose, and the environment probably isn't great. He's like, yeah, I don't know why they didn't trade me. I was waiting to be traded, and he's still kind of waiting to be traded. And poor Miguel Vargas traded from the Dodgers last year midseason to Chicago, leading off some promise, but he's been terrible as well. But supposedly he should be good one of these days. Beyond those three pitchers, I see talking about Reagan's in chat. Somebody asking about Sandy Alcantara. I'm a little bit concerned with Sandy out the gate. He's coming back from Tommy John. the Marlins are going to trade him at some point. They want to build him up to get, some trade value, right? He's not at his peak. So I don't know how much they push him on opening day, and I don't really think I have to make the decision because, again, there's so many other good options. If it was a slate with like a bunch of guys that don't project well and Sandy Alcantara, sure, but I don't see a reason to knock on that door today. But great arms, and Chris Sale, the reigning Cy Young winner, awesome bounce back season last year. Zach Wheeler, the talent is loaded. Hunter Green, we saw him really knock down his homers last season. Now, like, a little bit fluky. If you look at the homer and the fly ball stuff, which is under 7%, especially considering he's in that Cincinnati ballpark. Framber Valdez, just a quality start machine. Taking on a Mets lineup that's, pretty tough actually. But yeah, beyond those three for tournaments, how goofy are you going to get? I shouldn't say goofy because, again, there's a lot of good pitchers. Who are your favorite beyond those three?
Yeah, so I see chat talking about Reagans. I'm off of Reagans today. He was awful in spring training. He allowed 30 hits, 17 earned runs. His whip was like unqualified because it was over 2 in spring training in 18 innings. So how much weight do you really put on that? Because, I mean, a lot of pitchers are just working on stuff in spring training, pitches, grips, stuff like that. But enough where it's like, man, he got hit really hard. Cleveland, a low strikeout team, just in general. They continue to be like this lineup today, low strikeout team. A little bit more strikeouts at the bottom half now with like Naylor hitting lefty. But overall, I think it's a tough spot for Cole Reagans. So worry a little bit about him. I mean, Hunter Green, you kind of nailed it on the head. He knocked the home runs down last year. The walks are still a problem. The ballpark's a problem. But you're attacking the strikeouts, so I think like on DraftKings, if you're playing tournaments, he's a great pivot off of Kikuchi because he has strikeout upside. They'll let him go a little bit longer. His leash is a little bit longer than, I feel like anybody in baseball, and he topped out at 84. So we can see like 95 pitches out of Hunter Green potentially. Chris Sale is somewhat interesting against San Diego. He just, a guy that can just go out and strike out people and just not get hurt in the process. And this lineup for the Padres really bad against left-handed pitching last year. They were really solid against righties, but lefties, they just very little power. Machado, I think, was the only one over a 200 ISO. Profar helped that lineup, and with him gone now too, they had to leave lefties in the lineup, and I think that's going to benefit a guy like Chris Sale, lefty. We see a strikeout rate over 36% against lefties last year. So those are kind of the guys that I'm looking at. I see a lot of people talking about Alcantara in chat. I think he has a really good start. I do. And there was a thing, he like pitched a simulated game at the minor league facility and worked up to 90 pitches. So I think that's great. But the fact that they're already talking about limiting him this season because they do want to trade him, they wanted to keep him healthy. I still on the side of like 5 or 6 innings or like 85 pitches for him today. And do I think he could go out there and pitch well? I do. I bet a lot of unders on him for hits allowed. I bet unders in that game for runs scored. So I think he could have a good game. The other guy that I was like on the fence on is like Mackenzie Gore. The hitting conditions are like one of the worst hitting conditions according to Weather Edge here on RotoGrinders. So Zach Wheeler and Mackenzie Gore are both a little bit interesting, and Gore is like that guy that is like usually like really good or really bad. So in tournaments, I could see stacking against Mackenzie Gore, and I also could see playing a little Mackenzie Gore because there are strikeouts in this lineup, a lot of lefties as well. So I think it's Skeens, I think it's Crochet, and I think it's Kikuchi if you're like a single entry like main lineup type of play. But I want to expand in MME if I'm MMEing here. I think you can definitely get a good amount of these pitchers in there. Guys I want to stay away from: Sonny Gray, Pablo Lopez, Logan Webb. He's a really low strikeout guy. And then like Sean Burke struggles with walks. He has some strikeout upside. I could see in like a 150 build playing a little Sean Burke just because how chalky the Angels are going to be. Lively for what it's worth. If I'm going to attack like a chalky stack. And then maybe like a guy like Michael King could potentially make some builds for large field tournaments.
We are projecting as a median projection, Alcantara throws 68 pitches. And I don't know if he's going to throw more than that, but you just can't expect much beyond that. I wouldn't. It just does not seem necessary. Again, I think he's going to pitch well in the pitches he throws, but it just really seems like a bad idea as far as I'm concerned. That's the fewest by far.
I really think that it's 5 innings. Like, I think he goes out and throws 5 innings, whether it be if he's under 90 pitches, probably under 85 pitches. I think if he throws like 75 pitches and 5 good innings, he's done. That's what my projection would be. I think the 68 pitch probably a little bit lower. It's not readily available that he went out and threw a simulated game for 90 pitches at the minor league facility. So like he topped out at like 57 pitches in spring training.
Different managers have different philosophies. Like, some prioritize pitches, some prioritize innings when it comes to stuff like that. By the way, I will give you I was gonna say I'll give you hundreds of dollars. Can you tell me the name of the Marlins manager?
No. I really can't. Nope.
You ready for it? You're gonna think I made this up. The manager's name is Clayton McCulloch. That is the Marlins manager.
That's great.
There you go. Did not. Yeah. All right. Good luck, Clayton. And he might know his baseball. He probably does, but he's basically got no chance. That Marlins team is horrendous. Being told here in chat from producer Steve, who loves his Mets, you'll find out if you don't already know. It is Clay Holmes' birthday. Getting the start here for the Metropolitans. I like him. I don't know if I like him today, but I do like him in general as like somebody to keep an eye on. Don't know if I necessarily want to pick on Houston. And again, with the slew of other good arms, he kind of gets to the back of the line. I think it's an interesting pivot away from Kikuchi as a cheap SP2. We do have to start digging into our stacks soon enough, but is there anything else you want to say as far as pitchers? Any other bold stands? Any other takes? Again, but you did mention Weather Edge, and yeah, if you have RG Premium, that's one of the best tools we have. Is take a look at Weather Edge as far as basically it tells you how many. Okay, you mentioned Washington. The sample isn't huge. We have 39 games in the history of that ballpark with similar weather. And how did it play out? In those 39 games, 61 degrees, 10 mile per hour winds out to right center, an 18 dew point. We saw a decrease in homers at 32%, a decrease in runs at 11%. So like you said, and again, this time of year, you're just not going to get the 100 degrees outside and the ball flying in totals 5.5, 6. It's just not going to be a thing. Big sample size out there in San Diego, 328 games. Weather generally kind of similar, more so than other ballparks all year long. But yeah, 15% hit in homers, 6% hit in runs. Just not a lot of great hitting environments in general. Pretty good for New York. That's a small sample. Yeah, it's a 14 game.
We should also note, since we're like talking about weather, the like roof is like open in Miami as well.
Oh, okay. Didn't know.
It wasn't this morning. It was closed, and they changed it, and it's open.
Yeah, they don't open it very often. It's very humid. I'm not that far away. It's it's very humid out there, so it's mostly for a rain thing, right? But okay, that is of note, and not in the slate, but I'm sure Roth is getting ready for Tampa. Tampa's going to be probably a challenge every single night, given how the weather is in Tampa. And of course, if you're not aware, they're now playing in Yankees minor league ballpark, Steinbrenner Field, which is identical to the Yankees ballpark, but the key is it's outside now, no longer a roof. Anything else of note we want to mention as far as pitchers, or shall we? We got to do our stacks. We got to do our tiers, and then crunch time coming in about 50 minutes or so. We're going to power rank the 22 teams on the slate. 22 FanDuel, 18 on DK. Any final thoughts? Somebody just joined the show, Stevie. Give him the elevator pitch, the TLDR of pitching today.
Yeah, if you're playing on FanDuel, I don't like any of the 4 pitchers pitching early. We didn't really talk about that. Both Zach Eflin and Jose Barrios in the Toronto-Baltimore game, low strikeout guys. 2 guys you could definitely target in the hitting aspect, and we'll talk about that. Freddie Peralta and Carlos Rodon, they both have strikeout upside, facing 2 really tough lineups. I mean, facing each other. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly go over that. But yeah, I mean, we're both kind of on the same page. Skeens, Crochet, Kikuchi, our 3 main guys here. If you're just tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Hit the like button. Help out RG. Make sure that they can keep this show free.
By the way, I was mentioning some of the RG tools. MLB DFS, the annual option is $425. However, if you the combo price has been dropped to mirror the MLB annual price. So you might as well get more stuff for the same price. 6 months gives you full access to our content, our tools, projections for every sport: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA, PGA, everything with the exception of NASCAR. I don't know whose fault that is. NASCAR, you got to get a la carte. I don't know who to blame for that one. But yeah, at a cheaper price in the monthly package, you'd actually save about 35% if you choose the 6-month option instead of monthly. So sign up for MLB projections. Of course, you're getting NBA content, NHL. I don't know if we have USFL. I don't know. I know we did. But all right, let's dive in. Let's get our board ready for the people, right? We're done with pitching. We're gonna power rank our teams. And how we do this, we have tiers. Stevie, you know this. You set our tiers today. Every day it's a different category as far as how we set the tier names. And today's tier name was opening days, most exciting opening days. Tell me in chat, and there's probably some bias here too because people are maybe I'm speaking for myself. We're ready for a new sport. We're ready. We're always excited for what's next. What's the next sport? But tell me in chat what is your most exciting and least exciting too you look forward to as far as opening days. Stevie, we're going to throw the tiers up on the screen in a second, but tell the people your rankings 1 through 5. 1 is amazing, 5 is terrible, 3's in the middle.
Well, first of all, I just want to say I picked 1 through 4. Dean picked the 5th one because my message for number 5 was who cares? So just want to throw that out there. I did have NASCAR as the top, and I'll argue this with anybody. I think NASCAR opening day is by far the best because it's their Super Bowl. I mean, it's the Daytona 500. It's the best race, biggest race of the year. It's like opposite of other sports. So like I put NASCAR number 1 because
biased.
Listen, I am biased, but like I love all sports, and like how do you compete with an opening day that's like the Super Bowl? The biggest race of the year is the number 1 race. So NASCAR up top for me by far. Love NFL opening weekend. Listen, by the time NFL rolls around, we're all so excited and so ready for NFL. I think we all can kind of agree that like week 1 in NFL is just incredible. Love baseball. I wish we had better teams in Florida where you and I could maybe go and enjoy watching some opening day baseball. NBA is exciting. It just doesn't like get up there as much as the other ones because it's just another basketball game, and I don't know. I'm not as excited about NBA as I once was. So that was number 4 for me. And again, for the 5th one, I wrote who cares, and Dean came up with this one. So yeah, the 5th one is the who cares ranking for me. It wouldn't be a show if Dean didn't mute his mic.
I think the USFL is starting this week. I'm fairly certain, but this is the year for the Rough Riders, the Brahma Bulls. Are they still?
You don't even know when it starts, and you like pick them.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Can you name a USFL team?
Nope.
I don't think I can.
I can name almost all the professional volleyball teams, but I can't name a USFL team. So there you go.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, your kids are in the volleyball, right?
Yeah, I coach. I love volleyball. It's fun. Good times.
All right. Milwaukee, New York. Let's knock out these FanDuel FanDuel games first, Stevie. We'll just kind of go in order. 2 of the better the games for offense, right? We actually have 8 totals, which you don't have a ton of. Milwaukee taking on the Yankees, 8 total. Peralta versus Rodon. Big spring, by the way, for Austin Wells. Austin Wells, the catcher, leading off for the Yankees. There was talk that maybe Volpe, maybe Jazz, but it's Austin Wells leading off today for the Yankees, taking on Freddie Peralta. Rodon, incidentally, has given up the most homers per 9 last season amongst everybody throwing baseballs today. 1.59 to be precise. And I'm kind of expecting a little bit of a bounce back for Rhys Hoskins. I like Rhys Hoskins a little bit today on the FanDuel slate. Looks like he might be back. He's coming back from that. I think he had an ACL. I'm pretty sure it was an ACL 2 seasons ago. But he's in the cleanup spot there for Milwaukee. Of course, they lost Willy Adames to San Fran. Where do you want to throw the Brewers and the vaunted Yankees?
Yeah, so Milwaukee for me, it's kind of tough because if it wasn't Yankees bullpen behind Rodon, I would be really excited about this stack. But I'd say Milwaukee's like a NBA, MLB, MLB probably like a third tier type stack for me today. Love the ballpark. Obviously, love the fact that they're on the road. My biggest thing is like the Yankees bullpen is just expected to be really good again. And then as far as the Yankees, losing Soto is a huge thing. I think that's a huge loss for them. They're dealing with some injuries. Cody Bellinger had an incredible spring training, so expecting big things from him. I'd put them in the MLB tier as well. They're like a 3-tier type stack for me. Both stacks very playable. If you're playing on FanDuel, I would definitely have exposure to both of these teams. I mean, it's two of the better hitting conditions or hitting teams against pitchers that struggle splits wise. So, yeah, I would put both of these guys in the MLB tier.
Yeah, I'm in no position to override when we have a 3-man booth, and all of a sudden I got to break some ties. But I'm just yielding to you. You're setting the board. I think I'd have these teams both in the NFL tier, just kind of like the way everybody else is set up. I like these offenses more than most of the ones that are playing today. You mentioned Bellinger. This ballpark seems perfect, right? We know about the left field. Well, for lefties, the right field line, if you pull the ball, was it 315 or so down the right field line? So Bellinger feels like a great addition. I know the loss of Soto was huge, but maybe he'll make up for that. And like Ben Rice is another guy, potentially some cheap power, can bang one out, just pulling the ball down the line. Let's knock out the other FanDuel game. It's Baltimore-Toronto. Again, one of the bigger totals on the board, 8.5. Toronto is a slight favorite. Barrios taking on Zach Eflin. One of my favorite plays on the slate for FanDuel, when you consider salary, Stevie, is Bo Bichette. I know his locks are gone. I'm not sure if you've seen it. He cut the hair off. He had his worst season ever last year. I believe he's going into his free agent year as well, as is Vladdy, of course, people are talking about. They're trying to sign him. The addition of – you got instant revenge, Anthony Santander. This is first blood revenge for Santander against Baltimore. Andres Jimenez is not really the prototypical cleanup hitter, but that's who's batting cleanup today for Toronto. Their lineup falls off pretty quickly. It falls off pretty hard. Newly extended Alejandro Kirk batting fifth today. Of course, you mentioned before, the shortstop. Why am I forgetting his name? The spectacular shortstop for Baltimore. Why am I drawing this brain fart for the Baltimore Orioles? One of the best players in baseball.
Gunnar Henderson?
Yes, Gunnar Henderson.
My gosh.
Give me a second. I'm in preseason form. Baltimore, Toronto. What do you got?
All right, we'll start with Baltimore because that's what I have up on my screen. I like the idea of picking on Barrios here, Rutschman, O'Hearn. I would put this lineup last year in the NFL tier with everybody healthy, but the fact that like this lineup is a little different, they're in that MLB tier for me as well. And listen, there's going to be plenty of teams in the NBA and USFL like ranking for me today, but again, if you're playing on FanDuel, definitely want some exposure to Baltimore. Flip side, though, Zach Eflin is a guy I really want to pick on. Bo Bichette had an incredible spring training. He looks to be healthy. He looks back. The top half of this lineup looks really good. I put them in the NFL tier. Toronto is one of my favorite stacks for FanDuel today. Bichette's in my main lineup. I love his price tag over there. So, yeah, I mean, again, all four of these teams, if you're playing on FanDuel, get exposure to all four of these teams. I know we don't typically love, like, stacking early, but if these games were on DraftKings, I would have a lot more exposure to these teams as well. So maybe that helps potentially keep the ownership down for people that play both sites.
Philadelphia, Washington, 7 total. Again, we kind of talk about all the low totals today. Mackenzie Gore, kind of reverse splitsy, which I think makes guys like Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber pretty interesting. A lot of people like to avoid left on left, but Gore has been more vulnerable historically against lefties. So for sure, absolutely, you can play. Speaking of revenge, by the way, this isn't first blood, but Trey Turner, former Washington net, as is Bryce Harper. The addition of Max Kepler. Kepler is in there, left on left for what it's worth. Washington, of course, some young players. Abrams, James Wood came on pretty hard last year. Lots of power. Dylan Cruz, by the way, batting 8th was kind of surprising. I don't know if you saw that. I thought he'd be up higher in the order. One of the bigger prospects in baseball, batting behind the likes of Paul DeJong and Keibert Ruiz, which is, it's kind of rough. I thought, why not hit him higher? But that's straight. Luis Garcia is batting third. Okay. You do you, Washington. Philadelphia, Washington, what do you got?
So we'll start on the Washington side. I do like the potential of this top half of the lineup with Wood and Abrams. I think both of those guys have a large ceiling, but I'm going to put them in the NBA tier. They'd be more of a mini stack, 2 or 3 man type of stack, one-off type of build. Don't think they're a full fade. If this was Zach Wheeler middle of the season, sure, but where his struggles are is lefties. And then the Philadelphia side, MLB tier. I love this stack against Mackenzie Gore today. I mean, again, I don't know how many teams I end up with in the NASCAR because NASCAR opening day just. But yeah, I mean, Trey Turner, like you mentioned, Schwarber and Harper both hit left-handed pitching well. So lefty against Gore doesn't scare me. And I think the Washington bullpen might actually struggle this year, from what I've been reading about like who they have in the bullpen and stuff. So I think Philly could be a team that breaks the slate open a little bit. So I think Philadelphia in the MLB tier, and potentially if you're playing a lot, you could potentially put them in the NFL tier, but I'll have them in my MLB tier 3 type stack. How long should we tell him before?
Oh my God. Unbelievable. I was coughing before and I was trying to search something on the fly. Well, if you have the over, if you had over 1.5, you get the cash your ticket pretty quickly. That was like a no sweat winner. Geez, bad job by me. Terrible job by me. I was searching to see where the Nats bullpen ranks according to Fangraphs. I was looking at their stuff the last couple days, trying to catch up on bullpens. I'm not as bullpen savvy as I want to be this time of year. Okay, let's talk about your Red Sox. The Red Sox taking on the Rangers, 8 total. New toy, Garrett Crochet. We talked about him as a starting pitcher option for your lineups. Of course, there are some Texas pieces. I know you're a big fan of Wyatt Langford, who scuffled last year until the end. He absolutely smashed, at the last month or so of the season. By the way, is TJ dropping Spidey bombs? Are we seeing Spidey bombs? I see he's talking about it in chat. Spidey was locked in last year. Let's see, second Spidey bomb at 200 likes. Does that mean we got one? Was one already dropped? I've not seen. It
was Wallner.
Ooh, you know what? Yeah, I wrote about Minnesota. And we'll talk about them soon enough. We'll get there. And I know Dave was talking about him too. I guess it's not the secret that I thought it was when I was talking about the picking on Sonny Gray. But we'll get there. We'll talk about Minnesota soon enough. But yeah, Wallner is an interesting cheapie today. Let's talk about your Red Sox. Your Red Sox taking on the Rangers. We kind of mentioned Devers, kind of a sloppy preseason, spring training, dealing with some injuries. They took him off third base. They added Bregman. Devers will be DHing now. Christian Campbell made the big clubs. Congrats to him. And then the Rangers, there are some pieces, but Garrett Crochet, how much do we want to pick on them? Where do you have the Red Sox and Texas?
So I have Boston in the NFL tier. Eovaldi gives up a lot of hard contact. I'm attacking home runs today. They're on the road. Love the fact that they get that, ninth inning. And they have a lot of power at the top half of this lineup. So stacking them is a lot of fun because, they're a team that can hit 4 or 5 home runs in a day. And you're like, all right, well, that makes sense. So I have them up in that NFL tier. Texas, surprisingly enough, as much as I like Garrett Crochet, I have Texas in the MLB tier because of the leverage you get from stacking against Crochet. He's going to be one of the chalkiest pitchers. Langford, Garcia, they added Jake Berger, who hits left-handed pitching really well. Kevin Pillar was added to this lineup. He hits left-handed pitching. Probably gets pinch hit for late in this game, so you need Pillar to do damage early. I think there's a really high pinch hit risk for him. Simeon's really good against left-handed pitching. So as much as I love Crochet, I want to play him. I think this is an excellent leverage stack spot today with the Texas Rangers. So, this game has an 8 total. If we're looking at the DraftKings slate, it's one of the highest totals on the slate for DraftKings. So I think if you're MMEing or if you're playing 3 to 5 teams, the Texas stack is not a bad leverage stack for tournaments today.
It's a good call on Pillar, and depending on Crochet, he may only get 2 at-bats, right? Yeah. Because he's batting 7th, he could get 2 at-bats. So basically when Crochet's pulled is when Pillar's third at-bat comes up.
But if it's a situation where there's nobody on, 1 or 2 outs, they probably don't pitch hit for him in that third at-bat. I think he'd get the hook on the 4th at-bat. unless the situation's like first and second, one out, and we're like, all right, we're going to bring in a lefty here.
Case dependent. It's hard to foresee that, obviously. Sure. And you know who's lurking in that bench? Your boy Jock Jams.
Yeah.
Not that you're playing him, but just like he's the guy that, he's going to be the platoon guy whenever the righty comes in and the situation calls for it. He will spell. All right. Pittsburgh Marlins, a very paltry 6.5 total.
We can save time and just put them both in the USFL range here. Like, we don't have to spend a lot of time on the hitters in this game.
Man.
These are two of the better pitchers on the slate. Like, there's no reason to spend a lot of time on these hitters unless you really wanted to.
I mean, the Marlins bullpen, one of the worst bullpens in baseball. Pittsburgh probably gets 4 innings against them. I'm not going to stack Pittsburgh, but I don't mind like O'Neal Cruz, speed power combination as a one-off. That's kind of it. Ryan Reynolds is fine. I'm not playing any of the Marlins. Maybe Xavier.
I mean, you could potentially put Pittsburgh in the NBA, and I wouldn't like argue with you because of Reynolds, Cruz, and Bart, like a 3-man stack, sure. But again, the roof being open maybe helps a little bit. It's beautiful out in Florida today. It's like 80. So it's probably a little bit hotter in South Beach. So yeah, but listen, Eric Johnson in chat, the Marlins, you would like the Marlins, Eric. You would.
No. He's saying he loved the A's last year. And you know what? Shout out to Eric for touting the A's because the A's were much better than people gave him credit for. They'll be fun this year too, especially in a better ballpark. But no, the Marlins are not the new A's. By the way, Stevie, if you don't mind, give producer Steve a heads up there in the chat. He's been multitasking, doing work. He needs to know where to put the Texas and Boston on the board. You did make it easy. I agree with you. I would throw both Pittsburgh and the Marlins in the USFL tier. It's just too big of a slate, and like I guess there's a non-zero chance that the Pirates would drop a 15 or so, but like it's highly unlikely. And I'm not playing those kind of contests, and neither are you. If you're running 150, I guess if you want to make a stack of Pittsburgh, sure, make one Pittsburgh.
I think you play everybody. If you're playing 150, I think you play everybody.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it before as far as stacks, and I think it's an interesting conversation. And because there's no clear-cut team, and maybe you're shooting like, is there going to be one team that scores 10 runs? Probably. Is it? And also, how do you score those 10 runs? If it's 10 runs via no homers, they still can kind of be like not that helpful. Not 10 runs is not 10 runs is not 10 runs. It's how you get them. But I'm sort of thinking about I'm trying to homer hunt, and meaning I'm not necessarily going to force 4 4s or 5 3s as far as my stacks. And I'm thinking like 4 2 1 1 3 3 2, just kind of getting a couple extra teams and getting attached to like a bigger player pool, I guess. Just again, hunting for those homers, maybe more than 2 individual teams. Are you entrenched on a thought process on that? Is it going to happen organically? I know you're a hand builder. Are you seeking out like, I got to go 5-3, I got to go 4-4, just whatever happens? What's the strategy there?
So I built 5 teams on DK, and I think all 5 teams have a 5-man, whether it be 5-3, 5-2, 5-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1. So yeah, I mean, I have 5 teams that I like today, and I stacked each of those teams and just kind of let it ride. My main team over on DraftKings is a 5-3. FanDuel ended up being a little bit different because of like pricing. FanDuel, I went more like a 3-3, like one-off type stacks, and then my main lineup over there is kind of just like a mess. It's like 3-2, 1-1-1. And I play my main lineup is just more single entry, high dollar stuff. So I'm not as concerned about stacking on those types of contests.
It is worth saying, just like the scoring system, you're a little bit more encouraged to stack on FanDuel. Just, as far as
for sure.
Yeah, just wanted to point that out. Okay, not that you're encouraged always, and there's a correlation to it. And we didn't really do the whole tutorial, the MLB DFS 101. We assume most people know what's going on, but maybe not. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I have my eye on chats. We have a half hour. We're making pretty good time until Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, comes in, as well as Derek Carty, Kevin Roth. I want to see, has anything changed as far as Roth's weather report? Let me give it a refresh. Last we saw, nothing terribly concerning. Still nothing terribly concerning, but there are some things that we'll be needing an update, I imagine. I'll go ahead and drop this in chat for the people. Do hit that like button. Again, It's 200 likes, and we have TJ hanging out in chat and Spidey. We're just going to assume Spidey's right there hanging out with them, dropping the Spidey bombs. We'll give our homer picks as well later on in the show. Okay, let's scoot along. Let's talk about, well, this is a good ballpark, at least, if nothing else. San Fran and the Reds, Great American Ballpark, 8 total, basically a coin toss, Hunter Green versus Logan Webb. We talked about it earlier as far as Green. He subdued his homers last season, although, again, partially kind of lucky. If you look at the homer and the fly ball stuff, I think he had the second lowest homer and fly ball on the slate. Chris Sale, 6.3%, Green at 6.9%. So, he's a fly ball guy, and he somehow kept all his fly balls, a majority of them, in the ballpark. Second highest fly ball rate on the slate. Number 1, if you kick off Carlos Rodon, who's only on FanDuel. Where do we have San Fran? Massive ballpark jump. We love the ballpark jump out of San Fran into Cincinnati. It's about as big as it can get. Where do we have the Giants and the Reds?
Yeah, I feel like I keep putting teams in this MLB tier, but I mean, it's opening day. So the Giants, I'd put them in the MLB tier. I like the addition of Adames, Chapman. That gives power to this lineup. Ramos had an incredible spring training. Hunter Green gives up a lot of hard contact. So, yeah, I mean, I would put the Giants in that MLB tier. This is in the Great American Small Park. So if Hunter Green goes 5, maybe 6, we're still getting bullpen in this ballpark. So I like the upside here for the Giants. And the Reds, I have them a little lower. I have them in the MLB tier, or the NBA tier, sorry. Love De La Cruz, Candelario, McLean's back. So, I'd see the Reds as more of a mini stack. Logan Webb's a ground ball guy. They don't have any, extreme fly ball guys to really take advantage of Logan Webb. So, I think you're chasing more doubles and, speed from the Reds today than you are chasing, home runs from the Reds. So, I just wouldn't full stack them personally in, my 3 to 5 build. But I definitely like the idea of mini stacking them. Gavin Lux adds a little bit of upside to the middle of this lineup when he's hitting well. It's just, you never know what you're going to get out of Gavin Lux. Big prospect that has kind of been mediocre.
De La Cruz, he can steal against anybody, but Logan Webb gave up, I think, last couple seasons, more than 20 stolen bases in both. If he gets on, he's going to go. You don't really, again, I don't want to say you don't want to pick on Logan Webb. You don't want to pick on a lot of these guys, but you got to pick on them at some point. You got to pick your poison. You can't just keep rostering Angels and Royals in every lineup, because those are the most vulnerable pitchers on the slate. You got to take your chances against some good arms. Yeah, it is interesting to see Lux in the 4 spot. Wade leading off of the Giants feels like a potential pinch hit situation if a lefty does come in. And you mentioned Green. Hunter Green's the pitcher that can strike out 8. He can give up 3 homers, or he can do both. That's just sort of his MO when he's at the mercy of his homer and the fly ball stuff. Which again was really, really fortunate last season. We have 5 games left to go. We're making some good time here. Do hit that like button. You guys are hanging out in chat. Subscribe. Turn on those notifications. I know that the FanDuel slate does lock in 15 minutes. We did touch on Milwaukee. We did touch on the Yankees, Baltimore, Toronto. We talked about those pitchers. Doing our best to accommodate both slates. All right, Atlanta. I love the slate on DK. When do you ever get a 9-game sprint slate? We have a 9-game sprint slate where every game starts within, 10 minutes of each other? And we're spoiled in that one for sure. That's a fun one for opening day. Atlanta, Chris Sale taking on Mike King. 6.5 is a total. Of course, no Acuna for Atlanta. He'll be back in maybe a month or so, give or take. Hopefully sooner than later. Profar, new addition for Atlanta, is leading off. Another Insta revenge. First blood for Profar, Riley, Olsen, Ozuna, Albies, Harris. Drake Baldwin, I think, is a really interesting pivot off of we'll be talking about in a second, Logan O'Hoppe. Logan O'Hoppe is like the chalk du jour punt catcher. Drake Baldwin is a legit prospect, one of the bigger prospects in all of baseball, the biggest prospect in Atlanta's organization. I like him as a cheap pivot catcher, punt play. A lot of P's there. And, we got the Padres, pretty standard lineup. Of course, they did lose Soto. They lost Soto last year. But, Braves and the Padres, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put the Padres in that NBA tier. They have enough talent where they don't need to be in the USFL tier, but this is a terrible spot for them. They really struggled left-handed pitching last year. Chris Sale should pitch really well here. So not a ton of interest in San Diego. You could always one-off like a Tatis, Machado. Xander Bogaerts was really bad against lefties last year, so he definitely wouldn't make the cut for me in most of my builds. And then Atlanta, kind of lukewarm on Atlanta too. They do have enough like talent and upside, I think, to be in this MLB tier. Profar, Riley, Olsen, Ozuna, just a ton of power and ton of upside here. Also, like you mentioned, we get a cheap catcher batting 7th here. So, yeah, I mean, Atlanta in that like MLB tier, if you don't have a lot of love for Michael King, you could potentially move them up. Definitely a team I think you could target in tournaments.
Jerry's got a question in chat. FanDuel Cash first base. It is relevant to the conversation. FanDuel Cash, Vlad versus Olsen. If salary is not a thing, I think you got to go Vlad, right?
Yeah,
that's got to be Vlad. By the way, Chris is saying, I don't think we're being trolled here. He's reliable. ESPN beat the streak starts today. Remember that? That's a thing again? Remember beat the streak back in the day? ESPN's doing it. Is they running it back? Okay.
I don't know. I have to look into it.
Do you remember this? Does this sound familiar?
Oh yeah.
You gotta, I don't know how many you gotta win in a row. Nobody's won it. Let's see, 25 years, nobody has won yet. 5.6 million. Okay. You gotta like get like 20 or 25 or 30. I don't know what it is. They're not a sponsor, but cool. Or has it been a thing and I just wasn't aware the whole time? Did it never go away? But all right. Good luck on ESPN. They'll beat the streak. Let's talk about the Guardians and the Royals. If you missed it, we had a scratch here for Cleveland. Ben Lively is starting now. Their starting pitcher, their projected starting pitcher, had the fish, not feeling particularly well. So now we have one of the more vulnerable pitchers in the slate. We don't have a legit number one taking the bump. Lively taking on Cole Reagans. Kansas City now has the highest team total on the board. India leading off for him, newly acquired. Of course, Bobby Witt, one of the best players in all baseball. Vinny Pasquantino, the Pasquatch, did crack the lineup. I know there were some issues in spring. Was it a lat? Was it a side? He was dealing with some injury. I don't recall what it was, but good enough to go here today. Are we just picking on Ben Lively all of a sudden because just by default he's one of the worst pitchers in the bump?
Steve knows what's up. He already put them in the NASCAR tier. That's exactly where the Kansas City Royals need to go today. They need to go up to the top. They're a top stack. This is an incredible spot. Ben Lively, low strikeout guy, gets hit from both sides, throws a lot of strikes, gives up a lot of hard contact, doesn't miss a lot of bats. I don't have to make it more simple than that. This is a guy you want to pick on. Bobby Witt, I think he was top 5 in barrels per plate appearances last year. The guy just barrels everything. Pasquantino, Perez gives Bobby Witt some protection. India in front of him gives a guy that can get on base in multiple different ways. So love the Jonathan India pickup for Kansas City because he walks, he's patient. You want a guy like that in front of Bobby Witt who can run and get on base. So, I like this spot a lot for Kansas City today. They're right up there in that NASCAR tier. Cleveland, I'm going to put them in the NFL tier today. This is why. Cole Reagans, he struggled a ton in spring training. Is it an actual issue or is it not an actual issue? And he was just working on stuff. But when you give up 30 hits and 17 earned runs in 14 innings and against spring training bats, I definitely want to take some shots. So I'm going to take some shots here with Cleveland. Thomas in the middle of this lineup with Santana. Noel is a big power bat. We know Jose Ramirez is capable of big stuff. So putting Cleveland in my NFL tier today, definitely a team I'm going to be stacking.
Yeah, I mean, you never really know what players are working on, right, for the Reagans thing. Maybe he's just
it could be anything.
It's hard to speculate. Yeah.
Again, like in spring training, you typically see like a 0.8 to a 0.13 whip, and when it's over 2, it's not even classified. And his was like 2.08 or something. It was one of the highest. We're going to talk about Sonny Gray and picking on him. You and I are both on the same page, which is scary because I don't like agreeing with Dean. But Sonny Gray's whip was 2.02, and Reagan's was higher than that. So I think there's some issues there with Cole Reagan's. And listen, there's a chance that Cole Reagans goes out and he's lights out here, but I'm going to take some shots with the Cleveland bets.
Yeah, we'll get to the Sonny Gray thing, but Sonny Gray is also 35. Sonny Gray, he admitted to having a shot last year in his arm, which basically like a painkiller of some sort, which thwarted his off-season program. He was behind. He had flu-like symptoms basically the entire spring as well. So I think there are reasons to suggest that Sonny Gray might not be 100%. Also wanted to mention, by the way, I took a peek at the Ross Weather Edge. Speaking of Kansas City, speaking of Weather Edge, pretty big sample here. 113 games, 12 miles per hour. The wind is blowing out toward left center. 78 degrees, probably one of the hotter days. So we've seen a bump in home runs under those conditions in 113 previous games at 22%. It's a pretty big jump. A bump in runs at 9% as well. ERA also getting a boost at 8.4%. So a lot of signs pointing toward Kansas City. Oh, did we have breaking news? What is that? What just happened? Oh, Roth just made the weather yellow-orange in St. Louis. Oh, boy. Sonny Gray might get out of it after all. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, I know earlier he wrote, and I'll go ahead and I'll drop the update in the chat. And, of course, Roth will be on. He'll verbalize all this and add some color, give you some more clarity. But, yeah, the game looks almost like a lock. Okay, so they say it's a lock for a late start. Oh, boy. But it's opening day. They want to get stuff in, right?
I was going to say, this changes absolutely nothing for me. Whether it burns me or not, like, him saying that, like, the rain should clear about an hour after the scheduled pitch, they'll wait. It's opening day.
Yeah.
And it's only 3 o'clock there local time, so 4 o'clock, yeah. I'll wait.
Yeah.
I'm not changing anything. I'll listen to Roth on crunch time for sure.
Yeah.
But right now, yellow-orange with an hour, yeah, I think that's fine.
That is my first thought as well. That they're gonna, if anything, it might get people away from rostering players in Minnesota. In Minnesota, a team I thought that nobody would play might be a little bit more popular. The way we're having this conversation, and Dave's going to jump on soon. I know Dave was talking about Minnesota in his article as well for the reasons we laid out, picking on Sonny Gray. But yeah, maybe their ownership gets not that I'm not obsessed with ownership on 11 gamer, right? 9 gamer on TK. Typically, it's going to be spread out. We'll talk about the Angels in a second, which is uncomfortable ownership, right? 7.5 is the total. 7.5 is total. Over a 4-team total for the Angels. They are taking on Sean Burke. Sean Burke, a prospect, once upon a time, still can become a thing. Just control has been his issue. He's also given some homers as well. Backed up by the worst bullpen in all baseball. Although you mentioned bullpens as far as Washington, I did get a chance to look. Washington was like 28th or 29th according to Fangraphs. So you're on top of that as far as the Nats being vulnerable. How do we feel about Mike Trout being chalk? I think he's like the most popular big spend. If you're playing cash games, you're going to play some Mike Trout. And then there's also some uncomfortable plays on the Angels. Revenge game for Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson, like maybe he'll get like a revenge double. Maybe he can get a revenge double. I don't know. But just one of the worst players in baseball when we last saw him. Like he had a great career and a good run and good for him. But I don't know what's left in that bat. We did talk about Logan O'Hoppe as one of the more popular catchers, especially on DK. A fan, you don't have to roster him, obviously. Joe Adele, of course, an insane amount of power. But like, do you really want Kevin Newman? I don't think so. For stacks, whatever. But Solaire's got an insane amount of power as well. Taylor Ward, pretty solid up top. You can make yourself a nice 5-man for the Angels, and they're going to be one of the more popular teams. How do we feel about the Angels? And I guess we'll acknowledge the existence of the White Sox. But yeah, it's rough. It's rough. The White Sox lineup is not good. But yeah, Angels, White Sox. What do you got for me?
I'm going to put the Angels in the NASCAR tier. I know the ownership's uncomfortable, but not only are you getting probably the worst pitcher on the slate in Sean Burke. Listen, it's opening day. We have a ton of great pitching on the slate. We don't know what Sean Burke's going to be in 2 years, but here's the thing. The White Sox project as the worst bullpen in baseball by a large margin. Like if you go look on Fangraphs and you're looking at like where the Rockies are, like the White Sox project to be the worst bullpen by a large margin. So Sean Burke for 3 to 5 innings and then the worst bullpen, like I think you just got to be uncomfortable about playing the Angels today. Obviously Mike Trout has power. We know Soler has power. Ward has power. O'Hoppe has power. Joe Adele has power. Tim Anderson's going to be a little excited for this game. Maybe the adrenaline makes him a double hitter instead of a strikeout hitter. So I think I'm okay with being uncomfortable. I think it's opening day. The ownership's going to be spread out enough that the Angels are a top tier for me. Listen, if Trout was out of this lineup, they'd probably be in the NBA tier for me. But the fact that Mike Trout's in this lineup and Soler's right behind him, giving him some protection, I think it makes it enough where you got to play against the worst bullpen. It's opening day. You're going to get a lot of bullpen. And this bullpen, I don't know if they have one good pitcher in the bullpen, Dean. Like, I think the lowest FIP pitcher in the bullpen is like 4.25, and that's not good. So going to be attacking the White Sox a lot this year because of how bad the bullpen is. It reminds me a lot of how bad the A's bullpen was a couple years ago. So going to be picking on the White Sox. But as far as the White Sox bats against Kikuchi, I'm going to put them in the USFL tier. You could potentially one-off like a Soso or Vaughn to tack a home run against Kikuchi, but I think overall that's all you're really doing here. There's not a lot of power in this lineup, so I think one-offs of those two guys is fine.
Yeah, I know. Like
it just put a delay on the Cardinals Twins game for what it's worth.
Yeah, that's nothing to freak out about. Roth predicted that. Yeah, it's good to note, but we're not afraid. If you look at Austin Slater, who used to be like a platoon guy against lefties, and his ISO last year was 42 against 142 lefties, just horrendous.
Well, he went from like having really good launch angles against lefties to like hitting everything on the ground. So you can only play Slater against like massive fly ball guys.
Jacob Amaya, 30 at bats last year. His ISO versus lefties, 0. It's not good. Even Luis
have
Robert,
a bunch of ground ball hitters. Yeah,
it's a bad team, but I don't mind picking off a homer against Kikuchi. He will yield one on occasion. Okay, let's talk about producer Steve's Mets. He likes to play the game. He likes to try to force your hand, like you said. He didn't force you to put the Kansas City in NASCAR, but that is what you did. He's probably going to try to manipulate his Mets. Don't let him influence you. There he's at it. Wait, he's just throwing him in the middle. Look at that. He's playing some mind games. I thought he'd go all the way to the top. Clay Holmes taking on Framber Valdez. Speaking of ground balls, one of the best ground ball pitchers in all of baseball. 7.5 total. Basically, it's chopped as far as a coin toss. Each team's getting 3.75 as far as their team total. We do have Cam Smith cracking the lineup for Houston. 2K on FanDuel, really cheap on DK as well. He's the key piece in the Kyle Tucker trade. Essentially forced the hand of the Astros. He was awesome in spring training. Basically forced them to keep him with the big club. Isaac Paredes, I was looking at his was it Baseball Savant, has this new thing as far as balls in the air and pulled. Nobody last year had more balls in the air and pulled percentage-wise, like 35% or so. If you look at his spray chart, Isaac Paredes, everything is down the left field line. Everything. And where is he hitting baseballs now, Stevie? In Houston. And I don't know if you know this. In Houston, down the left field line, it's the Crawford boxes. This ballpark is built. I'm not necessarily saying I want to pick on Clay Holmes. I'm just saying as a general thought for Isaac Paredes for this season, he is in the perfect spot. He's in the perfect team on Houston. I love him in this team, and I don't think they miss a beat as far as the Bregman thing. I think he might be better than Bregman was last year. Christian Walker, of course, added as well, hitting cleanup for the Mets. Acuna's brother did crack the lineup. He's batting 8th. Their catcher today is Torrens because Francisco Alvarez hurt himself in spring training. He'll be out for a month or so. They did end up signing, after some jockeying back and forth, Pete Alonso, the Polo Bear, and, of course, their key addition in the offseason, Juan Soto. Talk to me about the Mets and the Astros.
Yeah, I mean, the Mets lineup is going to be really tough this year for pitchers. This is a team that is going to put up a lot of runs when they're on the road. What the heck was Soto thinking playing half his games in Citi Field outside of, hey, I'm going to get paid a lot of money?
Yeah, it's got 800 million reasons or whatever it is. I don't
know. Yeah. So, like, that aspect, sure, but ballpark-wise, don't love it. They're on the road here. I kind of just... If it was anybody but Valdez, I'd have a lot of interest. They don't have a lot of fly ball guys. You have to be able to hit fly balls against Valdez. His leash, I feel like, might be longer than others. He topped out at 86 pitches in his final spring training game. He was dealing with some control issues in spring training, which could really hurt him in a matchup against this Mets lineup if he's not locating the ball and not getting the ground balls like Soto, Alonso, Vientos. They'll pound this guy, Lindor. So they're right on the verge for me in like a 3 to 5 man, definitely MME type of stack. Houston's bullpen kind of middle of the road, like 10th to 12th type bullpen to start the season is where they're ranked. So I'm okay with stacking the Mets today. And then for me on the Houston side, I have no idea what to expect from Clay Holmes. I know he looked really good in spring training. We've seen many times where pitchers have done really well coming from the bullpen to starters. It's different, though. Like, you're going now from spring training where you might get 2 at-bats against a good hitter, where now I potentially have to face them a third time. What am I going to do type of thing. I have Houston in that MLB tier as well, where you could definitely pick on Holmes and see what happens or not. Like you mentioned, Paredes is going to really benefit from this ballpark. Jordan Alvarez, a ton of power upside there. Yeah, Kyle Tucker's gone, but I don't think, and like Bregman's gone, but I also don't think it's too much of a downgrade to this lineup. I kind of agree with you, which I'm doing a lot today, and I hate it.
I get it.
But,
I understand.
Yeah.
I don't like agreeing with myself either.
Yeah, Cam Smith, upside definitely there. Somebody was telling me about him. Yeah, Clay Holmes' birthday. Like, he was.
I was just telling you about Cam Smith. He's going to be like, he was the key piece of the Kyle Tucker trade, and he forced their hand. He was awesome in spring. They say his work ethic is spectacular. He looks great in the uniform. He just looks like a ball player. Like, he just. I know it's like just like there's no analytics to that. He just looks like he can play. If that makes sense. He's kind of watching. Yeah, this guy's he's going to be a thing. He's going to be a thing going forward. He's a rookie. So there'll be bumps.
Someone mentioned him last night, and I looked into him, and I love what I saw. So for sure.
Producer Steve is doing his best to make sure everybody knows that it is Clay Holmes' birthday. So get excited about that. Also get excited about Crunch Time. Crunch Time coming in about 10 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes. You got to Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, 2-time millionaire winner. You got Derek Carty, CEO of the Bat and the Blitz. You have Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth also coming in. He will go into more detail for sure about what's going down in St. Louis. We're going to talk about St. Louis now. Minnesota and the Lou, 7.5 is a total. Again, that game is going to start in a delay. It's kind of an oxymoron, right? It is starting in a delay, but we're not freaking out just yet. We're assuming we're fine until otherwise noted. Kind of a bummer. Speaking of spring training, we talk about spring training. Royce Lewis got hurt. He's going to be out for a bit. Super uber talent there for the Twins. He's just never healthy, but when he is, he's awesome, but he's not healthy today. Byron Buxton is. Buxton's healthy. And then you got your lefties, potential platoon guys, which is kind of annoying. Wallner leading off. I think we referenced him earlier in the show. I think he was a Spidey bomb. If they get to 200 likes, more Spidey bombs will be dropping. I know TJ and Spidey are lurking in chat. Trevor Larnach, another lefty du jour against Sonny Gray. We've kind of talked about it throughout the show. Sonny Gray, 35. He had that shot last year, which sort of like led into the offseason where it hindered his offseason workouts, delayed them. He was dealing with flu-like symptoms as well. He gave up 8 homers in 14 innings in the preseason spring training. Maybe he's working on something. Maybe he's lost it. Maybe it's just over for Sonny Gray. The velocity was down as well. A lot of guys' velocity is down in spring just because, again, sometimes they're not going full throttle, the adrenaline, that kind of thing. The Cardinals, it's the same team. They did not add anybody. I think they added 0 players. Did not get I'm sure we'll get an STL Cards rant at some point. He's probably busy with tax season, but eventually he'll pop his head up and say, or maybe he's splitting it out. Cardinals they didn't even trade Arenado. That was supposed to happen at some point. Maybe it will. But as of right now, he's still in the ball club. Twins, Cardinals, it's all yours.
Yeah, I'll start with the Twins. Right up in the NASCAR tier. Absolutely love this spot. Velocity down for Sonny Gray a lot. Really he got hammered. I mean, he gave up 8 home runs. It was the most in spring training. Just could not get the ball down, and hitters were just hitting home runs left and right against him in spring training. So that's a huge thing. The velocity thing's a huge thing. He was sick. I mean, just so many bad things going for Sonny Gray. He started his program late. Could Sonny Gray go out there and dominate? Sure. It's very uncomfortable stacking the Minnesota Twins. I like the lineup. Wallner has upside. Correa has upside. Buxton, Larnach. Jeffers is a great catcher option off of the Ohapi chalk. So Jose Miranda batting towards the bottom has some power upside. And, you were mentioning a little bit about like pinch hit risk. The fact that like Bader is in the lineup definitely is a benefit for Wallner because the other bench like outfielder is Kersley Jr. and he's a lefty. So I think Wallner potentially sees all 9 today. they're really happy about his spring training. So I like Wallner a lot. He's one of my favorite hitters on the slate, probably my highest own across the two sites. So yeah, I like the Twins a lot. They're one of my favorite stacks, probably my highest owned team on this slate. And I'm going to put the Cardinals in the NFL tier. I know this is probably going to surprise a lot of people, but listen, Pablo Lopez had a terrible spring. He was struggling with command. His walks were really high. This lineup is awful at best sometimes, but they have those like one or two days where they have good days. So I like the upside for the Cardinals, putting them in that NFL tier. I think Pablo Lopez is a pitcher that could potentially struggle today, and we don't have a lot of pitchers that probably struggle today, but we'll have some surprising pitchers struggle today, and I think he could potentially be one of those to struggle. And I see chat talking about, am I a hand builder? Yeah, I build lineups by hand, but I still use Lineup HQ for projections and a ton of other stuff. I'll run stuff through Lineup HQ with the stacks that I like, and I'll build a 300 to 500 teams on Lineup HQ before I start building hand builds. So Lineup HQ, a huge part to what I do for my MLB process.
Just a heads up, the FanDuel slate has locked. You're going to see a lot of delay stuff. Do not freak out. Do not tweet Roth. I'm sure. Actually, you know what? Do tweet Roth. Roth, why is this game delayed? Why is that game delayed? It's opening game.
Don't do that to Roth.
Opening game ceremonies. That's the reason why they're delayed, unless otherwise noted. But almost definitely, that's how it's going to go down. Like we're seeing right now in Toronto, I assume there's going to be some ceremonies for opening day, and that's the way it is, across.
Cody Bellinger, 20% owned on FanDuel in the single entry stuff.
He was pretty cheap over there. He was like 3.3 or something like that.
He was.
But that does seem a little bit too cheap. Let's give the recap, by the way, as far as the board. I know we have crunch time coming here momentarily, but yeah, NASCAR tier, the top tier for Stevie. We got 3 teams. It's aesthetically pleasing, by the way. We have like somebody giving the middle finger if you tilt your head. The way this board looks. Kansas City, the Angels, and Minnesota all the way up top for you in the NFL tier. Toronto, Boston, Cleveland, St. Louis. In the middle, smack in the middle, most popular tier, it is Milwaukee, the Yankees, Baltimore, Philly, Texas. But as I'm running this down, Stevie, I need 3 homers. I'll give you a second to think about it. Give me 3 guys that are going to go yard, who's banging one out. Feel free to be as ambitious as you want to be. Maybe 1 all the way up top, 1 all the way in the middle, all the way in the middle, 1 in the middle, and 1 all the way down low as far as asking price. Also in the middle is Texas, the Rangers, San Fran, Atlanta, producer Steve's Mets, and their opponent, the Astros. In the NBA tier, it's Washington, the Reds, and San Diego. And all the way at the bottom, the Doldrums. This basically is the White Sox and the Marlins tier for the season. You'll see a lot of them, I imagine, as the season progresses. It's not just the Marlins and the White Sox today, but joining them is the Pirates. All right, Stevie, did I give you enough time? Who's going yard? Give me 3 dudes. Be ambitious. What do you got for me?
I'm going to go Devers, Wallner, Contreras, all to home runs today.
Can I say Bichette? That game's already started. So is that worth even saying? Is it worth mentioning that I'm going to pick Bichette? Or should I not say that?
No, that's fine. I mean, I like Bichette a lot. He looked really good in spring training.
Yeah, despite the fact he cut his the flowing locks going into a contract season. He's coming off a terrible season. I think we're getting a bounce back for Bo Bichette. I'll focus on games that have not yet started. Let's see. One of these Giants, like Adames, Chapman, Elio Ramos is going to go yard. I'll take Elio. Elio Ramos is going to bang one out for the Giants. I'm not going to say Mike Trout. I'm going to say Joe Adell. Let's go with Joe Adell banging one out against Sean Burke. Let's be ambitious. Speaking of ambitious, the absolute best team in the business, crunch time. They're in the bullpen. We're giving a call to the righty, giving a call to the lefty, giving a call to both. I'm not sure if we have any southpaws here. We'll know in a second. It's Kevin Roth. It's Dave Potts. It is Derek Carty. It's crunch time. Let's do it right now. Kevin Roth, opening day. Did Twitter just take a crap? That's what I'm seeing right now. Oh, look at that shirt. That is a sweet shirt.
Thank you.
Zoom back. Oh my God. I love those old school Astros colors. They're so gross. They're beautiful.
It looks great. Yeah, I love it. I'm in pure chaos mode right now, Dean.
What's wrong?
Just day one, and I'm just Full chaos.
Did you read, Dean? Have you looked at the private little chat on the StreamYard? Like, Kevin, I don't know what is happening. I feel bad for him already. We haven't even started.
Our pets' heads are falling off.
We're not even in orange. Well, what I don't, do we have an orange? Like, why are you freaking out?
An orange. We got a little orange on the board. Is Twitter down? Twitter's not working. I can't get information. I can't tweet anything. I can't. It's taken me 2 freaking minutes to tweet a GIF, and then by then it's not even useful information.
You mean what was your GIF going to be? Were you going for comedy? What was your GIF?
It was a radar. It was like, hey, we're not going to start in St. Louis on time, but it doesn't matter. Dan is in the chat. It's day 1, and Roth needs a mental health day.
You've been coasting with basketball for months, and now that we need you?
Yeah. It's just chaos. That's fine. I've got it under control. And apparently X is down, so that makes me feel a little better. I thought it was a personal issue. But whew. Hey, guys, it's good to see everybody. How's everyone else doing?
Dave, Carty, how are things? Everybody good?
I'm in a little bit of chaos mode, too. Opening day is always a lot. Trying to get some stuff going with the bat. Just there's always a lot going on opening day. But, yeah, I'm super excited that baseball's here.
Dave is like stoic as ever. You're not rattled at all.
I'm calm as all get out. Like, just make a bunch of lineups, and you don't know what's going to happen opening day anyway. You can't really mess up because we don't know anything. Like, there's no such thing as a bad lineup when you don't know anything. So I feel great. Twitter is down. I don't care. I don't need to tweet anything. I don't need to X anything. Whatever you do. Happy baseball, yeah. And I got ice cream ready to go. And we get to start ice cream early today because the slate starts early. So everything's pretty fantastic.
We're going to step aside and make way for the three. We got a lot to talk about. Of course, the FanDuel slate is already started. We touched on that a fair bit. DK slate starts in about 40 minutes, or a little bit more than 40 minutes. Got plenty of time to break it all down. Myself and Stevie, we do thank you for watching the first portion. Hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn on notifications, but do not go anywhere because Roth is going to compose himself. He's going to get his gifts. X is going to maybe get back online. We'll see. He'll get his tweets out there. But yeah, Roth's got you. Carty's got you. Dave Potts, the best team in the business. Take it away, Roth.
Thank you. Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gents. We're back, baby. Opening day MLB, two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Truly, two like baseball savants here. Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood in the house, fresh off of 6 months of hibernation. And it's good to see your face, Cheese. How are you?
It is wonderful to see your happy yet chaotic face. Yes, so glad baseball is back. It's gonna be a good year for us. I don't know about it's not your favorite 6 months, but you'll get through it.
It is my favorite 6 months, Cheese. By the way, we did a good job of keeping in touch over the off season, but it's good to actually get to see you again.
Yeah,
and
just in case you're wondering, anyone in the world, like Kevin does do weather reports for anything. Anytime I need to go outside in the other 6 months, I do ask him if I should in fact go outside.
It's a lot. Friends get that privilege. Like, Meansy hits me up to see if he can walk his dog. Cheese needs to know if he's got to put the horse away. Carty,
is that really what they're doing? I feel bad when I'm like, I'm going somewhere and there's supposed to be a hurricane. Can you tell me what's going on? And they're asking you about dog walking weather.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. It comes with being a friend of mine. You're allowed, Carty. Hit me up anytime. How you doing, man? You said the bat, trying to get things organized. I still have more data favors to ask of you, Carty, so I'm prepping you for that.
Maybe you should compliment my face the same way you complimented Cheese's then.
It is great to see your face, Carty.
Your face
you look
looks
good.
Fine.
Buttoned up. Got the button down as always, looking sharp. Get a couple extra buttons open. How you feeling? And you excited about the year?
Yeah, I'm so excited. Obviously I love baseball. Opening day is like one of the best days of the year. It is extremely hectic, but it is also so much fun.
Yeah. Well, we got an air horn for Wells.
Lead off homer for the Yankees.
Wow. First bomb of the year, and it came quick. Love to see it. We didn't even get a chance to tell you who's going to bomb. We will do that later on in the show.
Austin Wells.
Austin Wells with a little Wells bomb. Negative Creep says your hair is looking fabulous. I assume he's not talking about Cheese or myself. So, Carty, you can take that.
You never know. If you guys want to take it, that's fine with me. I can share. I can share the compliments.
We don't get those compliments. Guys, let's dive into the weather because, as we mentioned, it's a little crazy right off the bat. I'll start with the good. was nice. That was a nice touch, producer Steve. I'll start with the good stuff. Every game looks good. I'll add just a little bit of worry in Chicago for some drizzle, but they're just going to play through it. It's not a big deal. The only problem is St. Louis. They've announced that they are not starting on time. It's going to rain for 2 hours in St. Louis. They have an off day tomorrow, and both teams are still just sitting there. So it is possible that they could just punt it and play tomorrow, but they've got an opening day ceremony. All the players are there. All the fans are there. And it does clear out tonight. So I expect they just play this game as if it's kind of an evening game. They late start for roughly 2 hours, and they play baseball. That is my current expectation. That is what I would do if I were in their situation. It was either postpone it 3 hours ago before all the fans showed up or wait it out. And I think the answer is that they're probably going to wait it out. I don't know that, but that's my thoughts on that. Cheese, anything you need to add? If we play a dude there, are we totally screwed? Because it is the last game, right?
Every game starts at essentially the same time, within 10 minutes of each other. So,
but it's
we can't,
slightly later.
There are no pivots. Like there are literally no games after it. So, but unless they postpone before lock, I mean, I'm not going to like start switching out players based on what you're saying.
Okay. Carty, anything you want to add?
No, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay. So that's our game plan. I'll monitor things. Of course, if we hear anything before lock, we'll let you know. We'll do a little scramble drill and we'll figure out what we're going to do. But right now we need to figure out what we're going to do about this slate as a whole. Opening day is fun because you get a bunch of really good pitchers that you can play. Geez, like 3 weeks from now, half the pitchers are going to be injured. So maybe this is the one time we get to do it. What do we like? What are we looking at as a whole here, Cheese?
Yeah, this is your last chance to probably play most of these pitchers before their arms fall off. Everybody else with your pets' heads that are falling off in the chat. Okay, so I said this at the start of the musings. I'll say it again now. Like, there's no point in time when we will know less than we know right now. Like, you should always play for randomness in baseball, especially the first start. Like, there's no way to know. Even if you dig in, even if you watched every pitch of spring, like, you don't actually know anything. We don't know who's going to start out slow, who's in top form, who's a little behind. Like, we do have best plays, and there's some pretty great pitchers, but we don't know anything. Like in 2 months, when everyone's just in the groove, we're going to essentially know, okay, this is who this guy is today. We're just going on. All we can do is what they did last year and the year before and assume they'll be the same guy, but who knows? So play whoever you want, more so than ever. With that being said, like Paul Skeens is the very obvious, this is the top guy. It would be really weird if he bombed. And it's on DK. It's just not that hard to get him at 10K. He'll be the most popular pitcher and should be.
Cheese, early in the season, are there like workload concerns where they're working a guy up? So, maybe these full go 100 pitches.
Well, not quite full go, but everybody's at the same level of probably nobody throws 100, but everybody's going to throw 80 to 90. Like, okay. So it actually evens things out for guys who generally have a lower pitch count, I would say.
Okay. Interesting.
Because some days you might get Zach Wheeler throwing 110. He's not going to throw 110. So the guy who only throws 80 is actually closer to Wheeler than he will be in 2 months. So today I have zero workload concerns with anyone.
Okay.
Maybe one guy gets 77 pitches, one guy gets 88, but like everyone's going to pitch. Yeah. Like 6 innings
on an even playing field. That's good to know. So, all right. So Skeens at the top.
Skeens is one. After that, there's a lot of different things you can do. I like Garrett Crochet second. Zach Wheeler very close. Cole Reagans and Chris Sale very close behind that. I think probably the biggest discussion point is probably with the cheaper stuff. The RG projections and myself really like Yusei Kikuchi. The bat likes him fine, but not quite as much as these other cheap guys. I'm playing Kikuchi is my third highest owned after Skeens and Crochet. I'm not playing any Sonny Gray just because of he might be hurt, he might be sick, his velocity might be down. There's all kinds of concerns about him. The other guy I'm super torn about is Sandy Alcantara. I think he's fine. Like, I think he'll get the same workload as everyone else, kind of like I was saying. but he didn't pitch at all last year, and he's not a huge strikeout guy to begin with. So I'm not playing him, but I wouldn't argue with you if you do. And then on the very cheap end, I'm playing a little bit of Clay Holmes. This is his first career start, but I kind of like the matchup given the right-handedness of the Astros, and I think Holmes is going to be good. So I'm on board with him.
Okay. Carty nodding in approval of that call with the cheapie. Carty, let's walk through it here. You got your pick of the litter. By the way, apparently it is Clay Holmes' birthday. So already day one, we got some narrative talk.
I mean, clearly
that ownership.
If you weren't already on him. Yeah, no, I like Clay Holmes quite a bit, especially at the price tag. Like she said, converting from a reliever, but it seems like he's going to be really good. The Mets, strangely, are now a very intelligently run organization. They're one of these teams that, like the Dodgers or the Rays or whoever, or the Astros, like they can fix guys, or they can make guys get the most out of guys. And Clay Holmes, I think, has the stuff. He's talked about adding some new pitches and kind of like optimizing his arsenal this offseason. There's a chance Clay Holmes is like really, really good. And because of that chance at 6K on this slate, I will certainly endorse Clay Holmes.
Okay. What else do you like?
Skeens is the top guy. Skeens is your cash guy. There's no reason not to do that. I like Garrett Crochet a lot as well. He'd be my next favorite. She's mentioned the Sonny Gray thing. Like if you're using the bat is going to tell you Sonny Gray is a good play. I don't like that as much, just for the reasons Cheese said. Like there are a lot of concerns with him where I think the bat is probably too high on him. I would kind of manually lower his projection a little bit. I don't mind Alcantara as much as Cheese does. Like I think he's fine. He built up to 90 pitches in the spring. There shouldn't really be any real workload concerns there with him. He is coming off the injury, but he's looked good in the spring. I'm okay with that. I think you can definitely consider like other guys in that price range: Hunter Green, Logan Webb, Kikuchi. So yeah, I mean it's opening day. There's lots of good pitching.
Okay, Reagan's, hasn't that guy got like 14 days
Reagan
before? Yeah.
Yeah. The only problem, I mean, if there's a problem with Reagan, is that he's facing Cleveland, who's not super strikeout heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Basically, don't play Ben Lively, and you're probably fine. I mean, probably don't play Mackenzie Gore or Sean Burke either, but every other pitcher on the board is very playable.
Yeah. And is there some strategy to double spend up, one down, anything there, or just do what you want and figure out the bats from there?
Honestly, the salaries are just not that tough. Like you can start with Skeens and Crochet, and it doesn't even hurt you that much. So there's not enough of a spread for it really to matter.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well, let's talk about some of the bats. We will begin, of course, on FanDuel, actually. We'll work our way around, and then we'll start with catcher. We'll go with FanDuel and DraftKings. Man, I'm out of work here. I'm out of practice here. Start a catcher, which is only really for DK. And then, of course, it's catcher first base on FanDuel. But Carty, what are we doing at the catcher spot?
On DK, the guy that I really like is Andy Rodriguez. And I do think he'll be popular. But he's 2K. He was like a pretty legitimate prospect for Pittsburgh. As a catcher, they seem committed to using him, a little bit at first this year as well, probably some DH. 2K for a guy who's pretty good against, I mean, Alcantara is fine. Like I don't have any problems with him, but on a slate that has Skeens and Crochet and Ray, like he's not like one of the top guys. Like he's in the bottom half of pitchers on opening day, I would say. And Andy Rodriguez is free. He projects as the fourth best catcher on the slate. And so for cash games, I think you just Rodriguez. Logan O'Hoppe, I think, is really good for his price too. The Royals are going to be popular, so Salvi is going to be very popular. But yeah, after that, it's kind of like, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Cheese, I want your thoughts at catcher, and then we're just going to take a full pause and talk stacks because I'm all out of order, and I feel like that's a more important thing. But go ahead, you can finish up on catcher, and then we'll talk stacks. Then we'll get back to going around the horn.
All right. The people want to hear about catcher and before stacks. I would
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah,
it does. The same three guys that Carty mentioned. Like if I was just making a couple lineups, I would be choosing between spending up for Sal Perez or just going down to O'Hoppe or Andy Rodriguez. I think O'Hoppe is going to be the chalky one, but there's no reason to spend up other than Sal Perez unless you're just being funny. Which in a bunch of lineups you start being funny. I like Real Muto fine. I like Ryan Jeffers a little bit, and then everyone else is just random dude in the stack.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about some of the stacks. And Cheese, you let us off at pitcher, so I'm going to let Carty lead us off with stacks. What are we doing? Is there pitchers that we can pick on opening day? I assume there's not. There's no real.
Well, so normally you would assume that,
but
unless food poisoning pops in and helps you.
and then the Cleveland Guardians have to roll out Ben Lively, who is very much not on the caliber of pitcher as Crochet or Alcantara or literally anyone else on this slate. So the Kansas City Royals are the top offense today. It's not going to be sneaky. People are going to play them, but they are.
Can I add? It's also one of the warmest spots. It's almost like it's 80 degrees and winds are blowing out there at like 10 to 15 miles per hour. So it's the best weather hitting spot and against the worst pitcher. So
yeah. So the bat has KC pretty firmly as the best offense today. Other options though, I think the Giants are really interesting, especially going into Great American. I think the Pirates. I mean, I've just mentioned Andy Rodriguez. Like he's the guy I like the most, but I also like O'Neal Cruz. Like I think there's ways to build good Pirate stacks, and I don't think they'll be like crazy owned. Even Angels stacks, I don't mind today. That's where I'm at.
Okay, Cheese, your favorite stacks?
Yeah, the slate is wildly different than it was when I wrote the article yesterday because of the Kansas City situation. Like they're so far ahead of the pack now. But it does make me actually like the other stuff better. Like before the Royals thing, like we were going to have some weird chalk on the Angels, which I have no interest in Angels chalk, but I do have interest in Angels as just kind of other than Trout being chalky. That now I'm more interested in the Angels given that their ownership comes down because of the Royals. Giants I like a lot. I like the Twins a lot. And the Phillies are the other team that I think would have been pretty popular before the Royals thing, but not as much now. And I do like the Phillies.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, we'll get back to going around the horn. First, I want to let everybody know if you're interested in signing up for some RG Premium, the MLB DFS annual option here is $425. That's how much for the whole season. But we've dropped the price of our Combo Pro product to match the MLB annual package. So you don't have to just get baseball. You can sign up for all of the sports, and there's a lot of them going on right now for the very same price. So make sure you sign up for that Combo Pro 6-month. Gives you full access to our content, our tools, our projections for every sport except NASCAR at a cheaper price than doing it month by month. You actually save about 35% by choosing the 6-month option instead of doing it monthly. A lot of people go month to month, but you can save 35% just signing up for the whole thing. So make sure you're taking advantage of that and doing it now. MLB projections, NBA content, PGA data. You got a whole lot going on. So make sure you're signing up. With that out of the way, let's dive into going around the horn yet again. First base, Cheese, you can lead us off there.
Yep. So sadly, because there's so many good pitchers, there aren't a lot of really great plays at any position other than, of course, shortstop as always. But basically, I like Vinny Pasquantino even against a good pitcher. I like him a lot now, but I do prefer Bryce Harper. I think, sadly, Bryce Harper is not going to be sneaky either. I was hoping he would be because it's lefty-lefty.
I think lefty-lefty.
Yeah. It's just because there's no one there. Like the pivots off him are facing good pitchers. You got Matt Olson and Pete Alonso, but they're facing King and Valdez instead of Ben Lively and Mackenzie Gore. So I'm totally in agreement with the bat that Harper and Pasquantino are the best plays. Sadly, they're the most popular. My pivots are I do like Alonso and Olsen, simply based on those guys can beat anybody and they're low owned. The cheap stuff is I don't know, it's fine. I mean, I want to like Encarnacion Strand because he's 2,500, but I don't really like it against Logan Webb. I have a little Wilmer Flores, Tristan Casas, probably my favorite cheap-ish, 3,900. Nolan Shanuel, I have with him as well, and it's really about it. There's just not much anywhere because all the pitchers are good.
Yeah. Okay. Carty, your thoughts there at first?
Very similar. I'd throw Andrew Vaughn into that conversation with like Casas and Shanuel. But really, yeah, it's Harper and Pasquantino at the top as your cash options. I like Alonso and Olsen a lot in tournaments because they're Alonso and Olsen. They project pretty well anyway, and they're super low owned. And then, yeah, those like 3.5K guys I think are fine too.
Okay. Alan pointing out, and I thought the same thing when you said Casas. You didn't say mi Casas, su Casas, and it hurt a little bit.
Yeah. So here's the actual situation. So, I love that joke. And I realize you guys haven't seen me in 6 months, but my daughter who's graduating from college is interviewing for her job, and she's interviewing with the place called Casa. And I have made so many jokes in the last 2 weeks that it's out of control.
Yeah.
And so like I've had to dial back. Like I gave her a whole sheet on things she should say in her interview to definitely get hired about how she wants to be part of Casa. But anyway, so he'll be back. But that has been
you felt it was
played.
Oversaturated, but to us, we were.
But I realize you have not been a part of all that.
Okay. That's good to know. All right. Let's work our way to second base. I think I've lost track a little bit, but Carty, what do we like at second?
Very little, Kevin. Second base sucks. I'm fine if you just want to punt it.
That brings back some memories. Second base sucked all of last year and all of the prior year as well, right? This is the spot that sucks.
Yeah, it's not a great position. Certainly not today. Kevin Biggio is 2K for KC, who we really like. And so that just is fine. So you can spend on other things. If you do want to spend up, I think Jonathan India in the same lineup is probably going to be more popular. He's certainly good. He's priced well enough, but I don't think he's a lot different than like Bryson Stott or even Michael Massey in the same lineup. KC has a lot of second basemen today. I mean, otherwise it's kind of like you can take a shot on, hoping McLean hits a home run. He's fine. Christian Campbell for Boston is interesting enough as a cheap rookie, but it's not a good position. On FanDuel, I think India, you get a more significant discount. He's 2.9. I think you just play India there. But really it's second base is not good today.
Okay. Cheese, your thoughts at second, other than it's not good.
It really is nonsense. I mean, it's horrendous. There's not a single player that I actually want. So it's very much to play the guy in your stack. Since I didn't make the Casas joke, I will make my joke. It would be really disappointing if the ball gets through the hole against Kansas City with 3 guys standing there. I like Michael Massey the best of the Kansas City second baseman, but play any of them. It's also really tilting me that Matt McLean is the only guy out of like 200 players that doesn't have a picture on FanDuel. And if you scroll through your lineups looking for someone being out, it's just like face. No, the picture has been.
He's a real guy. How does he not have a face?
They got people I've never heard of until yesterday who's got beautiful faces on there. And then it's just this red circle because it makes you think there's somebody out and it's a red circle on McLean.
Yeah. Huh.
But that doesn't really affect anything else. I also have a little Ozzy Albies, just the weird random guy who nobody's going to play because he's facing a good pitcher.
Okay. Geez, you want to go to third now or you want to go to short? What's the move?
We're going to go to third.
All right. Third base.
Because we're going in order of how they're in lineup HQ.
Okay. But that's not the order of how they're actually lined up around the bases.
Where they stand. Yeah. You should send an anonymous email to RotoGrinders and see and point that out and be like, hey.
I think I will. It just seems backwards. All right. Third base. What do we like, Geez?
All right. We'll see what happens. Okay. For the salary, Matt Chapman is my favorite play. And I actually think other than Bobby Witt, who we'll get to shortly, I think Chapman is my highest owned player. I love Jose Ramirez, but he's super expensive. I like Devers okay. Those three kind of stand out. But that leaves a bunch of pretty good players without much ownership. Austin Riley. I keep coming back to the Braves. Like the Braves are that team that they have a bunch of good players, and today's one of the days nobody's going to play them. So I do have some Braves in there. You can play Biggio at third base as well on DK if you need the minimum salary. It's a little more. It's better to play him at second because there are third basemen worth having. That's really it that I'm going out of my way to play. But I do have other guys that are fine, like Bohm and Paredes, and they're all fine. But essentially, I'm playing Matt Chapman. Unless I have a little extra money, I'm playing Ramirez or maybe some Devers in between them.
Okay. Carty, your thoughts there, third?
Chapman's my favorite. I mean, Chapman's a guy the Bad X just loves. High on him all last year. He's been great. They're still not pricing him appropriately, especially in this park. It's Hunter Green. He could just strike out a bunch of times, but Matt Chapman's my favorite. Devers and Ramirez are the only guys better than him. Once you start going down, it's fine. Miguel Vargas is there. Gavin Lux is there. Kevin Biggio is like 8 positions on FanDuel. So in addition to being 2 spots on DK, you can definitely think about playing him on FanDuel too. That's kind of third. You can make a case for like Machado or Austin Riley, like just because they're that guy. And at their ownership, I don't mind it. That's probably the way I would get different at third.
Yeah. Okay. Take me to short.
Bobby Witt is clearly the top guy. That is not going to be a secret. He is going to be one of the highest owned guys on the slate, I would think. He's the best player on the Royals, or the Royals are the best team on the slate for facing the weakest pitcher on the slate with the best hitting weather on the slate. So Bobby Witt's really good. But then because he's going to pick up so much ownership, you're going to have guys like Lindor, Ellie De La Cruz, Corey Seager, Trey Turner, who just have no ownership. So playing any of those guys in tournaments is certainly a good way to get off of Witt. I do think you can. I think you can also play. Sorry, I'm blanking here for a second. On FanDuel, you can play O'Neal Cruz. O'Neal Cruz, I think, is in the same category as the Ellie, the Lindor, all that. And he's a lot cheaper. He's 3.4K on FanDuel. He's like almost 1,000 cheaper than all the real high end guys. Won't be like low owned, but won't be as high owned as Witt. And so I really like Cruz today.
Good stuff. Cheese, your thoughts?
Oh, and then on FanDuel, Christian Campbell, who we mentioned before, he's shortstop on FanDuel, and he's 2K. So you can definitely play him too.
Nice. Okay. Good punt option. Cheese, what are you doing at short?
Yeah. Bobby Witt was at worst the second best play on the slate, even before the pitching change. So
yeah.
Yes, play Bobby Witt. On FanDuel, most lineups should have 2 shortstops with the same group after him that Carty mentioned. I don't know if he mentioned Willie Adames. That's the other guy I really like in there. There's no real need to goof around at shortstop.
Okay. Boys, it seems like they've brought the juiced balls back to baseball because I think there's already been 4 bombs, if I'm counting correctly here.
That's what they're saying, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So I
and those were also, maybe it's juice balls. Those also were 2 good offensive games to start. But
okay.
it would be more fun if the balls are bouncy again. For sure.
Yeah, bring it back. I'm a fan of that. Okay, I believe that brings us to the outfield. Cheese. You get the honor of leading us off. I'm sure there is a bajillion plays, but what are your favorites?
Yeah, Mike Trout is the good chalk. Play him while he's healthy. He's healthy today. You probably won't be able to play him tomorrow, but today you got him. And he's not even super expensive. He and Alvarez are the 2 guys I think you spend up on. And then all of the sort of mid-tier to cheap-ish Angels and Giants, like Taylor Ward and Jorge Soler, Helio Ramos, Jung-Woo Lee. I think they're all good plays. I like the Twins, Matt Wallner and Buxton. We got even cheaper Royals with Melendez and Renfroe that I like a lot. And then you just start spreading out to a whole bunch of mid-tier stuff that's fine, but not like stand out enough for me to say their name out loud on purpose.
Yeah. Okay. Well said, Carty. Your favorites there in the outfield.
Yeah, Trout's the best. I like Taylor Ward a lot in the same lineup. I think there are going to be like good outfielders that just aren't going to be owned as much because you have Trout, you have, Yordan Alvarez is going to pick up some ownership, who I don't love today, but he's fine. But you have like Juan Soto, you have Fernando Tatis. Like these guys aren't really going to be owned too much, and they project well. I mentioned O'Neal Cruz at shortstop. On DraftKings, he's outfield only, but I like him a lot over there too. I agree with Cheese on like the cheap Giants stuff. Lee in particular, I like. Ramos, is fine. Lane Thomas, I think for Cleveland, projects well enough for his price today. MJ Melendez for KC and Kyle Isbell for 2-4 for KC are both definitely in that conversation. That's kind of. Oh, and what's his name? Colton Cowser leading off for Baltimore. I like today too.
Okay. I think the people want some home run calls. They've been talking about the home runs, which have happened already in the chat, and they want to know who's hitting a bomb here as the slate starts in roughly, we got 17 minutes or so. And so I will give you, Cheese, the opportunity to go first. Something high end, something a little sneakier.
Yeah, I would go Vinny Capra for sure.
I believe Vinny Capra already hit a bomb. I think we can't, we're not.
I had Austin Wells. I said Austin Wells already, so that counts. I love the home run calls. This is my favorite part of every show. Yes, for sure. Matt Wallner will hit a home run on the first pitch. Probably not the first pitch. The first pitch will be a ball. Second pitch of the game, home run. As far as the Royals, other than all of them, I'll say Michael Massey.
Other than all of them.
And then let's go with Willy Adames.
Okay. TJ pointing out we are only 13 likes away from getting a Spidey bomb, which are TJ's home run calls. He's dropping those in the chat. So make sure, by the way, you're hitting that thumbs up. Free content from two of the literal smartest guys given baseball content in the world. So make sure that you are hitting that thumbs up for us on YouTube. Carty, I'm intrigued both from a DFS perspective, but also what the bat says are good bets. There's a lot of sports betting going on. Who are your favorite home run bets as well?
Yeah, so for DFS, the bat likes Rafael Devers the most for a home run. Off the board-ish, I would say like Jorge Soler, I think has a good shot, and I don't think very many people are thinking about Jorge Soler, so I like him. On the betting side, there's not a ton of home run value, but a lot of it is with KC. Bobby Witt Jr. actually projects as the best value on the board at plus 550. Kyle Isbell at plus 1200 looks fine. So yeah.
Okay.
I have a random question. I don't know if it's different from site to site. If you bet on Bobby Witt to hit home run last night and there was a pitching change, is the bet scratched or do you still have it?
Depends on the book's rules, but usually the bet will still stand in that case. That's what most books will do.
Feels like it should still stand. The bet itself didn't change. I'm still betting on him to hit a home run. If he hits one off,
the odds would have been totally different if they'd known the pitcher. So I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Showboat King pointing out the funny part about homer calls is that Cheese, as much as he dislikes them, usually goes roughly 2 for 3 on his home run calls.
I mean, I'm 2 for 2 already.
Yeah. Paredes, can I throw Paredes in for a home run? Is he even playing? And can he be my random dude who hits a home run today?
Are you asking? You, Kevin Roth, are asking? Or that's a question?
No, I'm asking personally.
Yeah, absolutely. He's playing, and you can.
There you go. He's hitting a home run. That's my pick of the day. Are the Twins safe? So let's go over weather again because you've got the issue in St. Louis. It's officially a late start. I saw someone in chat. Say what?
That's the Twins.
Right. Somebody in chat said that for a minute there, they were going through the pregame ceremonies in St. Louis, which is a good sign. I think they're just going to wait it out. Probably a fairly long wait. I'm talking Let me look at the very latest radar before I just say something that I regret. Yeah, maybe. I think they're going to play. That's the bottom line. I think they're going to late start, and I think they're going to play. It could be a 2-hour late start. Rain could linger an hour and a half longer. Then you got to finish your ceremony. Then you got to warm up, right? So this could be extended, but they've given themselves cushion by starting the game at 4. So even if you late start for 2 or 3 hours, now it's a normal start time. It's opening day. I think they're just going to play. By the way, the balls are juiced. Brandon says Adley just went deep too. I think that happened earlier, right? Is that Rutch?
Did.
Unless
Yeah,
he just
Adley
did
Rutch.
but yeah.
Unless he went for 2, yeah. Rutch dog.
He's just confused why he wasn't one of my home run calls. Hey, you can't get them all.
That's
Can't get them all, Cheese. Can't get them all.
yeah. So to answer Anthony's question, are the Twins safe? No, it is not safe, but I think they're going to play if that means anything to you. If it means anything to you, these guys are leaving in who they had in their lineups in those spots in hopes that it will play. So that's where we stand, but I don't get to make the call and I can't tell you for sure. Let's open it up to some QQs.
To get the first "Is it safe?" question of the year.
It was nice.
You better get
yeah,
used to
it was,
those.
Right. Is it safe? No, damn it. It's never safe. There's rain. No.
That's like, is it safe to play Paul Skeens? Yes. Until his elbow falls off.
Yeah.
Cashier, is it safe to play under 1.5 days tickets? Like, geez, like just immediately right out of the gate.
Yep. There we go. Boom. All right. We've got about 10, 11 minutes here until lock. So let's get to some QQs. If you got any questions, drop them in the Discord. That's where I'm going first, the RotoGrinders Discord, where the cool kids hang out. Or drop them in the YouTube chat. I will work my way to those as well. Make sure you're hitting us with that thumbs up as well. So here we go. Carty, I'm going to you here. DKGPP from our guy D-Rock. Wheeler or Sale, or is it just a coin flip for you?
DKGPP, Wheeler or Sale.
Yep.
I mean, they project pretty much identically in terms of performance, in terms of ownership, in terms of price. Like, it is very much a coin flip. I'd say slight lean towards Wheeler, just because, like, if there is a guy that's going to go out there and throw 105 pitches a day or 110 pitches, it's probably no one, but it would also probably only be Wheeler.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else we've got. Scrolling up into the old chat here on the YouTube. Does anyone know? No, it's not really relevant here. Anyone know why steals can't be used in single game parlays on DK? Carty, do you have any insight as to why that might be from a betting perspective?
Not really. Usually it's because there's some sort of correlation that the books are afraid of. I'm trying to think what it would be there. Like,
yeah,
if they just think a team just all of a sudden runs wild. I have no idea. No, I don't have a good answer.
I don't know. Okay.
I had no idea what an SGP was. It took SGP. No, I don't.
Single
know
game
what
parlay. Yeah.
No, I wish you'd asked me.
Yeah.
Could have Googled that. I've grown up since last year. I would have Googled. I would have chat GPT'd that thing.
Oh, look at you getting fancy here. The question.
Well, that's different than a single game parlay. It's the same guy parlay.
No. It's single game.
It stands for same guy parlay. Bobby Witt parlay. The BWP.
Yeah, so I mean that obviously doesn't make sense. Like, the two are actually inversely correlated. So that's just the book being whatever.
Yeah. Let's see. Mr. Irrelevant. Sorry, I saw a question here. Here it is. The username is Will Skeens get chunnel caked? And the question just says, that's my question, Roth. So the question is, will Skeens get chunnel caked? It's been a minute since I've gotten to use that phrase. Carty, any chance that Skeens gets chunnel caked today?
Well, there's always a chance.
Yeah.
But I would say it's not a particularly high chance.
Yeah. Okay. What do we got here? Jack says, Cheese, any concerns about Cleveland's bullpen after Lively keeping scoring down?
Well, of course, but he's still the only attackable pitcher on the slate. So, yeah, I mean, sure. But that doesn't change that Kansas City's the best team by a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other thing, just in general, always keep in mind, if a team gets out to a big lead, they don't see the other team's best relievers. If it's 8-1, Cleveland is not going to burn through their best pitchers.
Yeah, it's a good point. Even on opening day. Let's see here. Blink says Cheese, Kikuchi, and Vinny P, or Framber Valdez and Kyle Manzardo. This is for a large field DKGPP.
Kikuchi and Vinny P.
Okay. Little to no hesitation. You guys must have done a wonderful job of clearing things up because there are almost no questions. It is day one.
It's because there's almost no players that anyone wants to play.
Yeah.
To have a question, you need 2 players, and there are not 2 players to like.
Yeah.
So
They're just like,
really.
Kansas City guy, Kansas City
Unless
guy.
it's Bobby Witt or Mike Trout. It's the only kind of viable question.
Yeah. All right. Get your questions. They could be about lunch. I assume, Cheese, have you had lunch yet?
Yeah. I had some turkey.
Okay.
Our Kroger has like rotisserie turkey breast. I think I mentioned this last year. This seems like something I would have mentioned when I discovered it. You don't let that just cruise on by. But anyway,
so this is like sliced from the deli.
It's not sliced. It's like you get a rotisserie chicken. It's just a chicken. It's just like a turkey breast that they put in the rotisserie, and it's fantastic. I should say I don't know if they put it in the rotisserie. It's like roasted.
Yeah,
it's delicious. It's in the same bag as
the little rotisserie chickens. Yeah, I got you.
Little handle. It's beautiful.
Thank you for that.
We talk more about that if no more questions come by.
Yeah, we can talk rotisserie chicken.
We are now in mid-season form. I'm feeling good.
Spider-Bomb number 2, by the way, is Lars Bar coming at you.
TJ, just making sure you get to say that name on opening.
That's good. Well, I'm glad he's still in the league. I didn't know. Here's a question from Steve Carty. Are the Blue Jays still bad? Are the Orioles good without Santander and Gunnar?
I think they're both like above average. I wouldn't say either one is good or bad.
Yeah. Okay. What's the main number 1 stack on DraftKings today? It's Kansas City, right? It's Kansas City. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Kansas City by a lot is what I'm gathering. Let's see what else we've got. Any QQs? I would like, since Kansas City is going to be chalk, how many would you guys play? So maybe let's say, Cheese, you're doing 10 lineups. How many Kansas City stacks you got?
2 or 3.
Okay. Carty, you got a number there?
It's just a matter of personal risk tolerance. You can make 10 good ones and you can make 2 or 3 good ones.
Yeah. Okay. I want some takes on the season. I feel like, Carty, last year your take was that some team that was supposed to be a super team wasn't going to be a super team, and they kind of sucked, and you were right. Was it the Mets, or did they end up doing well? I don't remember.
No, it was the Mets, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe that was 2 years ago.
It might have been 2 years ago.
I'm usually right about all of them, so they kind of just blur together.
Honestly, I hate to admit this, but yes, that is actually true. So I'm wondering if you have kind of a season-long take where you're like, no, everybody thinks this, and this is this is wrong. This is what is actually true.
I think the Yankees are overrated. I don't think the Yankees are even the best team in their division. I think the White Sox are bad, but not nearly as bad as everybody thinks they are.
Okay. Do you have money currently riding on White Sox overs for win totals?
Oh, yeah. It was the best over you could take this offseason.
What was the number?
It opened at 50.5 wins. It closed around 54.5. The Bats projecting like 66.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to. I mean, the White
it's
Sox
hard to lose that many games.
Pretty hard to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have faith in them, but yeah.
Yeah. Cheese, you got any random season-long takes before we get back into some QQs here? We're 4 minutes.
I don't. I mean, I'm definitely down on the Yankees overall as well. But no, like I don't even remotely think in terms of teams, and haven't even honestly thought about it yet. Right. So I don't care.
Right. You're here to win some DFS millions, and that's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I approve. Cheese, what is your favorite contrarian stack against a chalky pitcher with upside to bust? Do you even need a contrarian stack, or it's all kind of contrarian?
Yeah, I think you don't. I mean, if you're not playing the Royals and maybe not Angels, Giants, Phillies, if you take out those teams, everyone is contrarian. Depending on what you mean by a chalky pitcher, there aren't really even that many chalky pitchers. So I'm not sure how to answer that. Like, Sonny Gray is not chalky, but I like the Twins a lot. I don't know, Texas. Crochet comes out, strikes out 10 guys in 5 innings, and then Texas goes nuts.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Will Detroit make the playoffs from Derek?
I mean, the AL Central is pretty weak. The bat has the Tigers barely projected as a 500 team, but it has them with a 42% chance to make the playoffs. So it's in play.
Okay. All right.
That's like, it's not the best division, but it's the best as far as every team other than the White Sox has a chance.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, I would say the AL East is kind of in that conversation too, without people realizing it.
Okay.
All 5.
Yeah. Cheese, how much leverage is too much leverage? This is
any
leverage at all. Any reference of the word is too much.
If you even speak it, it's too much.
Yep. Juice says, any chance Kikuchi gives it up to the White Sox? I don't know what that means, but maybe that means gets channel caked. Cheese.
Of course there's a chance. 1, it's baseball. 2, I mean, I like Kikuchi a lot, but it's Kikuchi. And as bad as the White Sox are, they do have a few guys with power. Robert's got power. Vaughn's got power.
Yeah.
They brought in random Austin Slater. I mean, sure. Yeah, it's absolutely possible.
Okay. Let's go to Steve O's question, which, Carty, is for you. Any pinch hit risk? You've got the bat tools, and the bat can tell you what the pinch hit risk is. And maybe we don't know yet this early because we haven't identified what teams do with different players yet.
Yeah, we're still kind of going based off last year a little bit and just kind of player profiles, players on the same teams with the same managers we can be fairly confident about. Yeah. And some guys like Austin Slater projects for the highest pinch hit risk of the day. Like, he's on the White Sox now. He's on a new team, but he's Austin Slater. Everyone who's ever had Austin Slater on their team has pinch hit for him. So, but they're, same as she said, at the start of the show, like, it's opening day. We don't know anything, or at the very least, there's a lot of stuff we don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Good notes, guys. We are just seconds away until we hit the old lock, and that's what we came here to do. You feel good about what we've done? Yeah. Sort of.
I think we feel amazing about what we have done.
I feel pretty good about it. I hope, the worst thing that can happen is the weather not going your way on day one, because that sets the tone. And,
you will get destroyed.
He's absolutely crushed. You wait 6 months to, So fingers crossed that game plays. Otherwise, I'm going to have a shit night. But I think we did all the things that we meant to do. So we're going to bounce on out of here. And I assume we're going to be seeing each other's faces quite a lot in the coming 6 months. Is that correct?
I would imagine.
So. I haven't looked at the schedule, but that tends to be how it is. Cheese, any parting words? We've got
I'm just thinking about dinner now.
Yes. All right. Get your ice cream ready as well. Let's bounce. Scotty, anything you want to say?
Well, we're not done talking about dinner, because usually dinner happens right after crunch time. So I've kind of decided, because if you're making something, you have to already have it prepped. But right now I got 3 hours, so the world is my oyster. It's not going to be oysters, but anything could happen.
It's kind of Pavlovian. Like, we're on the show and you start thinking about dinner, because that's the typical time.
Schrodinger's dinner.
Yeah, exactly that. Carty, anything you want to say to the people before we bounce on out of here? You can plug the bat. It should be a good time.
You could think about potentially, maybe, if you want to be good at DFS, purchase the bat. It's pretty good. I would recommend it.
Yeah. You don't even really have to try to market it. It markets itself, which is kind of fun for you, I would imagine. People just know it's great, and that's that.
A lot of it does kind of market it.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
If you haven't heard of it yet, send me a message. I'll tell you about it.
Yeah.
It's really good. People like it.
I'll tell you about it right now, because Fantasy Pros has named the Bat X the most accurate original projection system in the industry for the 5th straight year. The BatX is the most respected data source on the market, and it works with RotoGrinders Lineup HQ Optimizer to help you build winning lineups. Subscription features the BatX projections, projected ownership, access to a subscribers-only Discord, and more.
That was like a pre-written plug that I got. That I love that.
There you go. Yeah,
I actually think Steve just typed that freehand from out of memory.
Yeah,
while we were talking. That's what I think.
We appreciate that, producer Steve. Okay, hey, we're gonna bounce on out of here with that. We're gonna see each other plenty from here on out, and we're looking forward to it. So for Cheese, for Carty, and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you later on today. You have been kind.